So it's never been started. It has 0 miles, and it is prototype number 1, and I can have it. I can go get it tomorrow if I want it. I'm trying to
road trip
justify in my head if I really want to bring it home. Well, the problem is you can't modify it.
Yeah, you can't do anything with that. Yeah, you have to get it running and leave it just the way it is.
You have to finish it the way they originally intended. Yeah. However,
there's not many cars I would agree with that. Since Tim is not here, welcome back to the Dirt Drive podcast. It's light crew, just me and PJ.
I'd press the buttons, but it's a little far away.
Oh, yeah, it's all right.
You have buttons that make noises?
Yeah.
Oh,
we can't hear them. We don't have headphones. Yep. There's no point.
You have headphones. I saw them in the back.
Yeah, I didn't plug them in.
That's fine.
Lazy.
We're just talking to his torso. So that's fine.
Yeah, PJ's very good at noises and voices, so we have pre-saved PJ sayings.
Nice.
It's my party trick.
Yeah. We are here with Greg Henderson of Unofficial Use Only in his shop. There's cool stuff in shop.
No cool
it's
stuff?
really, really filthy. If I would have known somebody was coming with a camera,
it's fine.
I would have made my kid clean up.
Yeah,
this is fine. It's funny because
just think of it though. You've seen some of my builds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's the
they
fun
all
part.
Came out of this little itty bitty shop.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
That's we have said it for years. The coolest thing at a show is in the parking lot.
Yep.
Like the show is never the coolest thing, and like we're up here for AMW, and we've been staring at $5 million worth of Jeeps for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing we've seen is in pieces in your barn.
And we didn't go into the backyard.
Right. Yeah. Because like I said, we might have to come back tomorrow. We're here all week.
I literally have SEMA cars that were in SEMA just sitting in the weeds.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do. I build one of a kind shit.
Yeah, but are they not customer builds?
No.
No. So you just build them for yourself and show them and
I've got a Mahindra Roxor.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's probably a $90,000 Roxor.
Okay. Which is a lot because they're like $5,000 new.
No, they're like 20, 25.
Really?
Yep.
I thought they were cheaper than that.
Mm-mm. They're actually really cool.
Yeah.
But it has never been inside. I built it inside. It went to SEMA. It has never, ever been inside since. I'm actually going to sell it this year.
Okay.
It's got 3,000 miles on it now, so I figured it's time to go. But it's no lift, factory suspension, 37-inch tires. So I built a custom Highline kit. It does 85 down the highway, and it gets 32 miles to the gallon.
I would say it's a 3-cylinder like Kubota diesel, isn't it?
No, it's a Mahindra diesel. Mahindra is like the largest tractor company in the world.
Yep. Isn't that just a copy of the Kubota, or is it the other way around?
It's kind of, yes.
Yeah. All right.
So Mahindra's been around since, they've owned the license to Jeep since 1947.
Right.
And like when they first approached me and asked if I wanted to do one, I was like, no, because I'm a Jeep guy, and all I saw was the internet. And then I went, because they build them here in Pontiac, Michigan.
Yep.
I went to the facility and I looked at them and I saw the stuff and I saw the licenses, and I talked to Rick Payway, which he's a big Jeep guy.
Yep.
Talked to Payway. Payway's got a couple of Mahindras from like the 50s and 60s.
Oh, cool.
And so after doing my research, I was like, I'll build one. Come to find out, like the frame is kind of higher quality than anything that they produce now. It's fully boxed,
fascinating,
fully channeled. Right, it is a solid frame. They are on leaf springs, and they're narrow.
Yep.
But the body size is the same as a TJ. It's a 96-inch wheelbase. But that little, whatever it is, 2 whatever turbo diesel.
Yeah.
Literally, it gets 32 miles to the gallon on 37s.
Yep. I worked on.
I can put 10 gallons in it and go to Moab for 2 weeks and never put diesel in it.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, we were doing conversions to be able to drive it on the road when I was still at ORI.
Yep.
So they're officially side-by-sides, right?
Yeah.
Officially?
It's officially a side-by-side because so every country in the world, they're an automobile.
Right.
But they don't pass emissions here.
Yep.
They refuse to put DEF on them. They refuse to do the smog stuff. So it's a side-by-side.
Right.
And they're limited to 55 miles an hour
Yep.
from the factory because the government says so. And I think it's okay to tune them up to higher speed.
Okay.
But you're not supposed to do some of the like deleting stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They do have.
Is that the compromise that they have to sell them here?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Because like it's not that you can't, you're just not supposed to.
Right. Well, for them to sell them, they only
Right.
do 55. But as soon as you get them, like Diesel Freak did my tune, and I just did the stage 2.
Yeah.
And then it would happily do 80 down the road. And then I geared it. So I didn't do tall gears because it makes a lot of torque. So I did 488s with 37s.
Yep.
And it'll do 85 down the highway.
What are the axles based on?
So the original axles are Dana 44s.
Okay.
So from Mahindra, they come with Dana 44s front and rear, but they're the early CJ width.
Right.
And they're not actually Dana 44s. They just use Dana 44 parts. So Mahindra builds their own axles because the Dana 44 is not owned by Dana.
Right.
It is owned by you and me. The original Dana 44 was a government contract for the Willys. So nobody owns the rights to it but the government, which means we, the people, own the rights to it. That's why Mahindra can produce it. And they don't need Dana's approval.
Interesting.
It was kind of a cool little loophole. And I didn't know anything about it until they explained it to me. But I put, Yukon lockers in it. And I widened my axles to the width of a JK.
Right.
So it's, like I called it Roller Girl.
Okay.
Remember Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
Because it looks like a roller skate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So it's low, big tires, wide. And even at SEMA, because we put like a $5,000 JBL system in it. And so at SEMA, we were playing, because it was in the Steer Smarts booth, I played, I've got a brand new pair of roller skates. Like so loud the walls were shaking all day.
Oh, man. See, now I feel like we do have to come back during I don't know how we're going to get back here during the day, but maybe Friday.
We'll talk to Dan.
Yeah. Like I said, the coolest shit's in the parking lot, i.e. the field.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've got some other fun ones. Like I just dug out my J20, which has been in the weeds for years.
Yeah, we saw that when we pulled up.
So that's only got 40,000 original miles.
Jeez.
And I'm going to refresh that this year.
Because I have all the good stuff.
I've got a CJ6 with a world cab in the backyard, which there's very, very few of those.
There's a few, not a whole lot of CJ6s to begin with.
Right. And this one's a 1950s with an actual world cab. I don't know, my Egyptian military T1, and then there's some other just random stuff. Random stuff is fun.
Don't we all have it?
I have too much of it.
Yeah.
I have a few old tires in the old backyard.
Yeah. Do you want some tires?
No.
I got a pile of tires.
I got a lot of tires.
You're not allowed to throw them in the dumpster.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a monthly bill. It's the never-ending monthly bill.
Too many tires. Too many tires.
Yeah.
So you guys are here in town, and you're at AMW, and you're learning all about their Hemi swaps, which AMW is like the king of Hemi swaps in the last few years. So AEV quit doing it.
From what I know, they're the only ones left because Dakota Customs apparently has stopped as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Burnsville turned into Dakota Customs and has now turned into almost nothing.
Yeah.
Was it Jeep Speed that was doing a Hemi kit, or
I
they
don't
quit
know.
too?
Not that I've seen.
Okay, I know that there was a couple. Bruiser never did a Hemi kit.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bruiser's just doing LS.
Yep.
Weren't they doing diesel?
So Bruiser did do some diesels, and I think you can probably still get one.
Yeah.
So I actually, a lot of people don't know it. I went down there. I was the COO of Bruiser for 7 months.
Okay.
So I went down and helped him when he was expanding from the smaller business into the larger Bruiser, and helped set some of that stuff up. But Bruiser spent a lot of time and effort designing an LS kit that was unlike anything anybody else had done.
Yeah.
So everybody else, when they wanted to put LS in it, especially at the time, they were like doubling up computers and doing this other stuff. Well, Jeff, kind of as a visionary, he looked at it and went, all engines are just air pumps.
Yep.
If the Dodge system wants Dodge information, let's just put all the Dodge stuff on an LS. And that's how he was doing it. So he was moving all the sensors and everything else from a Hemi into the LS. They were even putting the, like the cam timing and everything in it. And then they could use the Bosch factory Mopar computers and run it like it was a Hemi. It's just an LS. And it was an ingenious way to do it. I don't know if he's still doing it that way, but that's how he was doing it, and it was ingenious. And like they could do.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So when I was at AEV, we would do a Hemi swap the fastest one we ever did in a JK was in like 6 hours.
God damn.
So, like, pull it in the morning.
We're 12 hours, and we'll be lucky if it's running by the end of the day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, we'd pull it in. Like, there was another tech there, Jeff, who's amazing, and he's still there. But we'd pop the body off. By lunch, the Hemi was in it.
Yeah.
So, in 4 hours, Hemi's in it, body's coming back down. And then it was just hooking stuff up and putting fluids in it. But the fastest one we ever did was 6 hours. On average, it was about 10 hours.
Yeah.
The build time was 40.
And that's just doing drivetrain?
That's complete drivetrain.
Nothing else.
I can
in,
see that.
Put a Hemi in it, drive it back out.
Yeah.
Now, every time we did a Hemi, at that time, you had to do at least a 2-inch suspension lift because otherwise you'd have axle to engine issues.
Yeah. Still the case with the oil filter relocation and the AC compressor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, the AC compressor, you didn't need a lift for that because we did a small.
Oh, yeah. I guess where it sits on the 392 specifically, you need it because I guess it's reload. The oil filter. The 5 that I looked at this morning, the oil filter would go straight, or the upper control arm mount would go straight through the oil filter.
Yep. Yeah. So you did an oil filter relocator, and then back then with the AC compressor, we actually would modify them so that they cleared, so you had enough clearance.
Okay.
And that was JK, not JL. JL's a different animal.
JK, JL's different animals.
But so everyone we did get a suspension lift at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So that was in that. But when the body's off, changing springs and shocks is minutes.
Yeah. Well, what we're learning is all the turnkey stuff at AMW is getting long arms and air lockers and a 60 and an 80.
Right.
So there was a whole day just in them cleaning and welding brackets onto the frame while we wired.
Right.
Which like we were talking about our swap kit, we won't have that specifically.
Right.
We'll have our own set of things to fix on that Jeep.
A lot of time that we can cut down on. Just because it's a simpler kit than what we're learning right now.
Right. Oh, they're so simple.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are simple.
Yeah.
So like the wiring, and I haven't done one of the AMW kits in several years, and I know they've made some changes, but the wiring harness should take like 10 minutes to put on the powertrain. Right?
Not anymore.
Really?
Pinning it out and everything, you mean?
Oh, we didn't have to. Yeah, we didn't have to pin it out before.
So that's what I was saying. As we learned this morning, the 24s and up have a new ECU. So there's a whole new connector. You have to basically depin the factory ECU connector, repin it for the ECU that they use with the kit, and that's 3 different connectors, and it probably was 60 different pins.
Yeah.
And then you're adding connectors. It's the wiring's a big. On the JL platform, it's a big one. I think the JK is a lot less.
So when back then, like when the last one I did, the company that made the wiring harness for AEV is the same company that was making the wiring harness for that company,
right?
Because somebody might have told Jared where to get them. But it was when we did it at AEV, it was all pinned, right? You didn't repin anything, and his earlier stuff, the ones that I did on a JK, because I haven't done one of his kits on a JL, you didn't have to pin anything. So it was literally 10 minutes. You take the harness out of the box, lay it on the motor, plug everything in the right orientation, and once you'd done it a few times, it was 10 minutes. The first time, it might take you an hour.
Yeah.
But it's still a very simple thing, right? As long as you're a competent welder
and
a competent place, because you don't want to not know how to weld and put motor mounts on a frame.
Yeah,
right?
They're not important.
Right.
JB Weld.
But AMW has cornered the market.
Yeah.
On the Hemis, and they don't just do like at AEV. We did 5.7, 6.1, and 6.4. That's it, right? AMW, you've got 5.7, 6.4, 6.2.
So many variations.
Supercharged, Hellcat,
3
Demon,
different versions of the 6.4 as far as horsepower ratings. And,
all the way to Elephant, right?
Yeah.
So they literally have opened the gamut, and whatever you want, you can get.
They're throwing a Whipple on a Elephant
Yep.
in the bay next to us right now.
Right.
So that's going to be 1,500 horsepower
Yeah.
in a Gladiator.
Well, so we did
Dumb.
a couple years ago.
2
years ago. No, a year and a half. I built a Jeep for SEMA, and it was one of the new 392s. And so it was the very first 392 in the world with a Magnuson supercharger.
Okay.
So we took that Jeep, did a 2-inch lift, Curry 70s front and rear, a very simple lift.
Yep.
Because we wanted it to ride and handle like a rally car.
Yep.
And then we sent the motor to Arrington Performance. He did a whole new lower end in it, and then it got the Magnuson supercharger. So that Jeep makes 1,200 horsepower at the tire.
That's not even fun.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fun, but
But the best part is all the mods to the motor.
Yeah.
So now the Jeep started as a 392, so it was not a cheap Jeep to start with.
right.
So the guy started with a $100,000 Jeep,
Yep.
and then he put $25,000 worth of axles on it,
Yep.
and then he put 40 grand into the motor. So he's into the Jeep for 160,
Yeah.
I mean,
but has
and then some.
1,200 horsepower at the tire,
Oh yeah,
not at the crank.
it's good smiles.
Right.
Smiles per
So-
dollar.
And the fun one was his originally his license plate. He wanted to do it as a joke. He didn't end up doing it, but his license plate was going to be AMW KLR.
I would have done it.
So no, I didn't want him to do it
Sure.
because
sure.
I have a relationship with Jared.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that's just not cool, right? We're both in the Jeep market. We're very close to each other.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
Like I knew Jared when he was at his very first Jeep shop. In fact, Jared used to build my Jeeps.
Okay.
So way back, early 2000s, I was a stonemason,
Okay.
and I used to pay. Jared had a shop called the Jeep Outfitters, and I used to pay Jared to build my Jeep. And every time they'd get done with it, I'd go pick it up, and I was all excited. I'd bring it home, and then I'd spend 3 or 4 or 5 days
Redoing it.
redoing things to make them how I wanted.
Right.
I mean, they did the bulk of everything. I just finessed it.
Right.
And at one point, it was in 07, AEV needed help. I went to go help AEV, and at that point, Jared didn't build my Jeeps anymore. I started doing it myself. But yeah, so way back when Jared had his very first shop, the Jeep Outfitters, I used to pay Jared to build my Jeep. In fact, my son, who's 19,
Yeah.
he used to call Jared Uncle Jared.
Okay.
So I've known Jared forever, and I have so much respect for him. He
Yeah.
has built
It's-
a powerhouse.
It's a serious operation up there.
Oh yeah.
In the last 6 years, right, 7 years, he was right up the street from here. He was a couple miles from here, in like an old pole barn,
Yeah.
right, like a rundown icky pole barn. That's where he started AMW.
Okay.
And to go from there to where he's at now is just
Yeah.
amazing,
And the
right?
next,
And it's inspiring.
Next building.
Yeah.
That's
Have you seen the new building?
yeah. Well, I've seen stuff of it. I haven't been there yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's the American dream,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? He went from little, and he's such a good business mind, and literally, and Jared said this once. I want to say it was like 2004, and it stuck with me ever since. But Jared could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in a white dress, right? He is an amazing
Yeah.
salesman.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah, but he said that. He was explaining something to somebody, and I heard it. That was a Jared quote,
No.
and I heard it, and it stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you I've told 100 people that exact thing, that I heard that from Jared, and it is the truth. Jared, he can
Yeah.
sell you your own shirt back to you.
Yeah, I mean, and you see the company as a whole and how they work, and everybody we've dealt with so far. Like,
Well, you're dealing with Dan Dingman.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So Dan is, oh my God, he's a phenomenal fabricator.
I have to remind him every so often. I'm like, we haven't done this before. He's like, I'll throw that away. I'm like, whoa, hold on, what are we throwing
Yeah.
away?
I'm asking questions just to ask questions, just
Right.
like trying to absorb everything.
Well, as far as Dan goes, like
Yeah.
in total, he is just a phenomenal fabricator.
Yeah.
So there's different types of people, right? Especially in the automotive world. Dan's a surgeon,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I can see that.
You can tell Dan, I want this, right? And whatever it is, he can do it. whether it's wiring or welding or fabricating or knocking out a suspension. He literally is one of those guys. Jared is so lucky to have him, right? He's one of those guys that you point and you say something and it's done. You don't ever have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. He's an asset. Like Dan has mentioned before, and I told you guys earlier, he's mentioned, maybe coming out and moonlighting a little bit. And I even called Jared and told him, I don't want to steal Dan.
Yeah.
But Dan he's just such an amazing guy, right? Whatever you point him to, he's going to get it done, and he's going to get it done, in my guess, on time and under budget. Yeah. So he's a good dude. Yeah. And he does this all day, every day. So it's hard, like even when I used to do it at AEV, it's hard to stop and say, this is why I did this, or give you that explanation, right? Yeah. So if you're not asking questions, you're not doing your job.
Yep.
Right? But yeah, he amazing dude.
Yeah, it's easy.
I almost just died.
That's gonna be the thumbnail on YouTube. Greg dies on the podcast.
We come to Michigan and Dan almost dies.
It's been a really good 2 days. Like, I mean, not that I would ever say I know everything, but like we've learned just so many little tips and tricks and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this would be really easy to run this light bar next time we have to do one. Or, like at this point, I'm like, there's
a lot of stuff that we haven't done.
We've been joking. We're gonna take the body off of every Jeep that comes in. Oh, it needs an oil filter adapter housing? Yeah, take the body off.
Well, and you remember when we were in Washington, I said the easiest thing in the world is pulling the body off. How easy was it when you actually saw it happen?
I'm still amazed.
I mean, we're doing it was a
gladiator,
now,
so we
still doesn't matter. Yeah. So start to finish popping the body, how long did it take him?
4 hours. Moving real slow, us learning where every bolt was, learning a new toolbox.
Well, we did stop and do other things before we took the bolts and then took the body off.
It was because after talking to you, I went back through some of my notes.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, we had a JL in here, and
actually, you're right, it's less because we showed up there at 9:30.
Yep.
We left at 12:30 for lunch, and the body was off.
We had the body off, the tub.
So
the bed off.
2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 hours. 2.5 hours.
I was thinking about it, and we did a JL a couple years ago where we did an engine swap on it, and it was just 3.6 to 3.6.
Yep.
But when we pulled it in and popped the body, Captain Redbeard was here, and it was the first time he ever pulled a body. We put it up on the hoist, and it took 31 minutes to get the body off.
Believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if I end up only putting a 3.6 back, like. If we pull the 3.6 out of the shop Jeep, the body's coming off.
Yep. Oh, it's so easy.
I was
the hardest part with taking a body off in a shop setting is a used Jeep that somebody else has put rock lights and other bullshit, and they ran wiring where they're not supposed to.
That's what we get to do.
Yeah, it's
so from here on out, though, every time you do it, because now you're learning, every time you do it, if you're going to run rock lights or whatever, oh, hey, look. From the factory, they put a bulkhead connector. They put a big connector between body and frame.
Yep.
Do the same thing. Put a connector somewhere. Buy some Deutsch connectors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do.
And that way, anytime you're going to separate, you just know, undo that, boop.
Yep.
And I always put them right next to the factory one.
It's a good idea.
Right? That way you know, oh, yeah, that's got to come apart.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably spend an entire day on Martin's redoing why. Yeah. Like, he's a great customer. He knows his own limits, but he also knows enough to get himself in trouble.
Yep.
And like, I don't even remember what he came in for the day it happened, but he came in dropped the Jeep off. We put it on the lift, and we're like, "Hey, buddy, like."
I think it was when we were like going
at the
through
old
it,
shop,
and we were going to rebuild his shocks.
Oh,
and we did a full look over.
We have it on the lift, and we're looking at it, and he's got like rock light wire, like an Amazon rock light kit. And it's just scattered across the Jeep. Like, it's laying on the exhaust. Everywhere. It's like, we're like, hey, like,
did you
mean to do this? So he's like, oh, shit. Yeah, I got drunk with my buddy. We were just laying them out to see how they were going to look. I totally forgot about that. You guys can unhook them. So we unhooked him because we were afraid it was going to set something on fire.
Yeah. Lo and behold.
The miscommunication was like 3 months later, he ends up at AOAA. His power steering pump explodes, gets it towed to the shop, sits at the shop while we moved for 2 months.
Yep.
We finally get the power steering pump in it. He's test driving it. At some point in the communication, he thought we rewired his rock lights. We just unplugged them. He reconnected them. He goes to test drive it with the new power steering pump, comes back, pulls into the shop. And I'm like, it's smoking real good. You sure you don't have a leak?
It wasn't even that. I pulled it in the shop. As soon as I opened the hood, there was a wire hanging down on the header, just sparking out, and immediately ignited all of
as soon as you came to a stop, it caught fire. And we were like, okay, and we ripped it all out. And like, that's just 1/10 of the wiring and things we're going to have to undo.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's normal. Usually the wiring is one of the worst things you see.
Yeah. It's
bad. It's also going to be filthy.
Hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I do it, it looks factory.
But
That's
hate
me.
it.
Yeah, that's what we try to do.
Hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I do it, but I make it look good.
yeah. I mean, there's like that's the part that like I'm trying to figure out now that we've had like we're doing all this wiring with the body off and there's nothing in the front end of the Jeep. I'm like, how far can we do? Like, how far do we have to take things apart? You know, if we're doing a big wiring package or a big light package on somebody's Jeep, like,
Do you know what the best thing to do is?
upsell it.
Don't put lights on a Jeep.
You know, Greg, if we're only that easy.
No, it is. So you get a good quality set of headlights
Oh, listen, I don't disagree
and a
with you.
good quality set of fog lights, and you're done.
Yeah, but that doesn't look good at the mall, Greg.
I know, but it functions. You know, all the lights up by the A-pillar and the up on top,
But it looks cool.
they decrease your vision.
Listen,
Did you know that?
Well,
When they're on, or just in
Scientific
general?
fact, when they're on.
because they're too bright.
So when you turn on a light bar, right, or the A-pillar lights, the reflection that you
Yep.
get from your painted hood causes your retinas to close.
What if it's black?
It's shiny. Causes your retinas to close, and you lose depth. So
That's why you put all your lights in the front.
You put all those bright lights up, and they shine off the hood, and they cause your retinas to close. You physically can't see as far as you can with just a quality set of headlights.
Do you hear that?
It's actually true.
He does know what he's talking about, internet.
However,
I agree
they
with
do
you.
look cool
Yeah.
in a lot of instances.
That's so.
In fact, today I called Tyree Lights and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to drive my Humvee across the country.
Can I get a
Do
light
you
bar?"
have an 80-inch wide light bar? Because it's wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
Do
because
240s.
just because it looks cool.
Do like dual 40s or something.
No, they're putting one together.
Nice.
All custom like.
That'd be cool.
So, but yeah, I think I'm going to drive this. I was debating whether or not to rent a truck because I totaled my truck.
Okay.
So I bought this beautiful Dodge Ram back in 08.
Is it the one that's sitting out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bought it in 08. Had the lifetime warranty. Right. Like I could smoke an engine and it cost me $100 for a new engine. Right. And it brought me right to the scene of the 7-car pileup. And I was the cause of the pileup. Actually, technically, I wasn't the cause. There was a guy in oncoming traffic that flipped over in the median, caused everybody in front of me to lock up their brakes. I was towing a big trailer with a big Jeep on it, and my brakes didn't lock up nearly as fast as the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, and it was right on a bridge. So I couldn't go into the median. I couldn't go into the shoulder. I just split the lanes and went through everybody.
Went through 7 cars.
And cars just went boo, 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 boo.
So
And
you're
then-
going to fix it, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not going to fix
No.
it. It's a little
episode
too
of
far gone.
Mythbusters with the
Oh, yeah.
So I had a deuce and a half, and I so wanted to build that. Like during COVID, I even put pictures up. I was like, should I armor this and go have fun?
I mean, fast forward 5 years, you might need it again.
yeah.
That's a separate podcast, though.
Yeah.
That's our running joke. That's a separate podcast that we haven't started and probably
Off
won't.
air with Freddie Abe.
Yeah, there's a lot more whiskey involved in that podcast.
you didn't bring whiskey.
You said I offered. Listen, I barely know where we are right now.
Yeah, but you could be drinking whiskey.
Yeah, I could be.
I don't have any whiskey. I gave it away. I have vodka.
Vodka.
I had some really high-end whiskey that somebody brought me. It was like a $600 bottle of whiskey.
Damn.
I didn't like it. I tried it.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like it was like drinking Pine Sol.
That's
right?
So
To me.
Yeah.
Somebody else took a sip and he thought it was the best thing in the world, so I let him take it.
Yeah. We have a friend
And
back
I think
home.
his paychecks are like half of that. So he was really excited to take that bottle home.
Her and her husband have a legitimate speakeasy that they built into their basement, and it is a extensive, like few hundred bottles of rare scotch. Like that's their thing, is they're
Right.
scotch drinkers. And we've done a couple podcasts from the Speakeasy. She's with customer, Jeep friend. And we played a game on the first episode we did with her, which bottle on the shelf cost more than Tim's XJ. And we learned pretty much all of the bottles on the shelf cost more than Tim's XJ, which he bought for $800.
So my XJ, you guys saw it when I pulled up. So I got that 2.5 years ago for $3.
Fuck.
So it had 118,000 original miles.
That's not bad.
All the good shit's up here.
Yeah.
Now, the worst part is, so he drove it. He bought it brand new in 01 because it's an 01.
Yeah.
He drove it until 08 when the alternator died. And then, like the most neglectful Jeep owner in the world, he parked it next to his garage and let the grass grow into it. So I got it for $3, and then I promptly put about $1,000 into it.
Floor pans.
Because I had to do all new floor pans, all new brake lines, all new fuel lines, right? Everything underneath.
The funny thing is he could have parked it in his garage and you probably still would have had to do all that.
No, because the rest of it was meticulous, immaculate.
I just feel like every XJ I see,
so the grass grows up and the dew gets on it and it makes everything wet.
Yeah.
Right?
Moisture.
But surprisingly, like all the structure of it,
Yeah.
the unit body, no
Solid.
rust at all. Just the floor pans were roached and the whole fuel and brake line bundle. So I just replaced everything. It's got 130,000 on it now. Purrs like a kitten.
Yep.
You know, I thought about lifting it. I decided no.
The XJ is one of the best cars ever built.
I put the
care what anybody
JCR
says.
roof rack on it because I've got this like 12-person Tipui tent, and my wife won't pull the trailer.
Sure.
You know, because we have a big camper. But she'll take the XJ and bring my little guy up north, and they'll go camping.
There you go.
So, and that, I mean, no offense, but the JCR XJ stuff is, in my personal opinion, the best XJ stuff you can buy.
What did we? That's what's on the black
that's the
one.
roof rack on the black one.
Yep.
Well, they do the bumpers, they do armor, they do all kinds of stuff, and it's really quality stuff.
Yeah.
And it's made right here in Michigan.
I did not know that.
Yeah, JCR is in right outside of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
How far is that from here?
About 2 hours.
Not really on my way home then.
No, it's actually in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because they're like, if you were driving from here toward Chicago, you'd pass them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they work Monday through Thursday. They don't, so they do 4-day weeks. But yeah, they started in a garage here, and you know they built into what they are. But the Daryl and Mike, the guys there, they're amazing dudes.
Yeah, they do.
Victory 4x4.
Yeah, I was to say I don't know if they own or are partnered with, or like what their exact business situation with Victory is.
They own it.
Okay.
So it's the exact same guys,
stuff,
same thing.
Okay.
It's just a separate entity.
We've got a whole bunch of stuff we're ordering for a GX build from Victory.
Yep.
So
yeah, they're good dudes.
There was something else more recently we did with JCR.
There's a lot of Jeep companies in Michigan that people don't realize, like AEV.
Yeah.
JCR.
Yeah. I would sell a lot more of it if they did wholesale. They don't do wholesale anymore.
Yeah, they quit doing it.
I don't blame them. I don't hold it against them. Like people want it, I still buy it.
Like even me, as we're getting into selling parts.
Yeah.
It's just
a nightmare.
Everybody wants more money. Everybody wants a bigger discount, right?
I get it.
Nobody wants to order we're setting it up. You have to order this much to get this discount.
Yeah.
And we have huge companies that just refuse to put in the order that we said you have to place.
Yep.
Right. And it makes it difficult. Oh, will you drop ship? No.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. At that point, I can just sell it retail.
Right.
Yeah.
So I understand why they did what they did. Because they used to sell to everybody.
Yep.
But it's really good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Is the most important part. And then I'm trying to remember, there's a couple companies that are gone now, but Steer Smarts is here.
Yep.
AMW.
Is Rock Slide up here? I feel like everybody uses Rock Slide around here.
No, Rock Slide is in Utah.
Okay.
What's their name? Why can't I think? I've used this stuff. Joe's the owner.
That doesn't narrow it down for me.
Man, I feel horrible. But there's multiple Jeep companies in Michigan.
Sure.
Michigan is a pretty big automotive hub. I mean,
it's
general.
like-
Yeah, we're still one of. I think we still kind of corner the automotive market.
Yeah.
So most of the companies here, like even in Washington, Mark Melling.
Yep.
Right, owns Melling Oil Pumps. and he employs 700 people.
Yeah.
And they make stuff for the OE all the way through to your Jeep.
Yep.
So a lot of companies diversify enough. They make stuff for the OEs, but they also make like their own line of product.
Yep.
Like Steer Smarts, a lot of people don't know it. Steer Smarts is like a little itty bitty sliver of a company. So it's one of the largest steering manufacturers in the world. Like they used to deliver steering to Henry Ford with a horse and buggy. So it's this huge forge in Ohio.
Do they advertise who owns them?
No.
Or no?
No,
I'm just curious.
They still make
my own knowledge.
make steering for Dodge and Chevy and Ford and everybody. Steer Smarts.
Be an off-air question.
Yeah, Steer Smarts, and they'll tell you if you ask, but I don't remember the name of the company. But Steer Smarts, literally, I think it started in 2017, and it was just they make these parts, and they went, we can turn those into Jeep parts.
Yeah, we can make that heavy duty.
You know, like the track bar, I think originally came off a Prevost motorhome, and they're putting it in a JK. You know, they made a couple
change down. Yeah.
No, they just made a change to it. But and one of the cool parts about Steer Smarts is all of their products they do the same engineering that the OE does.
Yeah.
Right? So they put them through the same tests.
Right.
Like they make a tie rod, they hook it up to the machine that will put 500,000 miles on it to see where the failures are. And one thing I've pushed them multiple times to do because I don't work there. I'm like, they do everybody's. So they buy everybody else's stuff and they put it in the machine.
Interesting.
And I'm like, publish all the results.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'll piss off some people.
Oh, it would piss off a lot of people. I've seen the results.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I won't buy that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I won't put that on a customer's car.
I want to know. I want to know.
Right. You know, like there's some pretty big name stuff that they've tested. And
I mean, I could, from our own real world stuff, there's stuff I don't buy or sell anymore. And and we're still paying the price for it because we're still kind of warrantying it to some degree because I feel bad for putting it on 2 years ago.
Right.
So.
But yeah, so, you know, like Factor 55, right? Yep. Everybody in off-road knows Factor 55. And the reason that everybody knows them, and I hate to say it this way because I love the boys at Factor 55. I love the guy who founded it. I love Justin. I love all of them. It's an unnecessary product for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? The closed thimble, the stuff.
It's cool.
It's cool, but you can, if you know rigging, you can get away without ever purchasing something from them.
Yep.
However, they published all their results, always. Right? They tested stuff in an engineering atmosphere with quality engineering. They tested it till its failure point, its breaking point, and they published that information to show how good it was.
Yep.
Right? And they published competitors' pieces.
Yep.
Right? And even the knockoff pieces, companies that knock them off, they buy it, they run it through the test, and they go, oh, look, this one broke at 3, where ours goes to 90.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And because they showed the truth, people bought it and fell in love with it. And I use it, right? I understand closed loop winching is better than something that can come apart.
Yep.
Right? Soft shackles. I used soft shackles way before they did, or before they started selling them. Now I use theirs.
Yep.
Right? Because I still want the quality stuff. I don't want to save, especially with winching, right?
Yeah.
Or recovery in general.
Yeah.
I don't want to save 60% and buy some cheap Chinese Amazon garbage that's going to kill me or somebody else.
There's been plenty of videos of that.
Right.
Kind
Well, and it's funny because like we both come from fire department background.
Okay.
And I have, and granted I've been out of it now 2-3 years, but I've gotten into many arguments with 30-40 year veteran guys over tech rescue and recovery stuff when it comes to winching specifically. And it's like, I don't know what Percival did, but like we always did the old chain and steel cable and everything else. Yeah.
That's going to...
I'll be right back. Yeah, Greg, it's 2025. You got to get a rotary screw compressor like everybody else.
How dare you? Those are really expensive.
Right. Well,
I don't charge.
The Eastwood one is.
I don't charge what I should.
Oh, well, that's your own
Right.
problem.
So, yes. Honestly, I fall in love with these builds, and I don't charge appropriately like this. When I was at AEV, I would have built that in a week.
Yeah.
I'm 5 months into it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, but is it 5 months and the same amount of hours that would have been? You weren't a 20-hour day guy at AEV, like?
No, I was.
No.
The first few years, I worked from...
So it's still hundreds of hours. It's just a different hundreds of hours.
At AEV, when I first started, the first first year and a half, I would get there at 5:36 in the morning, so I beat all the traffic. And I would come home at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Right? That is because I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, I was like, you need to pay me for all these hours?
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, okay, no more overtime.
Yeah.
But... no, I do so much more now.
Sure.
Right? So, like the chassis work on this, I literally did 10 times the amount of work that we would have originally done at AEV. So there were some frame issues. You know, like Brutes were known to have like a floppy frame.
Okay.
Tailgates would open because you're taking a unit body that's on a frame. Because a Jeep is a unit body that sits on top of a frame.
Yep.
So the frame and the body join together and they add strength to each other. When you cut it in half and then stretch the frame gets a little weird.
No.
So like on this one, there's probably an extra 60 hours of hand fabrication that's never been done before to make that frame the strongest TJ frame I've ever done.
Right.
Because I know how this guy's going to drive it. He wants to drive it like it's a side-by-side.
Well, even just the back kicking up, from the wheel well back, like that's not.
So that's part of the Brute kit.
Oh, is it really?
That angle, this back 18 inches is actually part of the Brute kit.
Okay.
The difference is this is their fish plate. Right, that goes over the seam. I internally did a whole nother fish plate. Right. On the back here, they didn't do internal frame sleeves.
Right.
They only did internal frame sleeves up in the front. So I actually cut all that open and I sleeved it internally. And then I added a fish plate to the other side.
Yeah.
And then I got rid of the crumple zone spots. I welded those all solid. And then I did a full tie-in cage work. So, I mean, that frame's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny how as you learn things over the years, like
you keep
where your priorities go.
Get it better.
Yeah.
Make it better, make it better, make it better. Even the body work. So that body work, and it's hard to tell now, when it goes together, it's nowhere near that straight.
Right.
So with stick and wood, I call it, but with a hammer and dollies, I worked that all out where when this goes to the paint shop, he will probably use less than a Gatorade cap of Bondo on the entire Jeep.
Yeah.
Where we never did that. Right?
Yeah.
But this has my name on it.
Right.
Right. And so
it's not a production piece.
Right. I'm very concerned with comebacks, and I'm very concerned with people talking about my work and telling the quality. Now, his original quote, like from AEV, I think it was 60 hours is what they quoted for a Brute.
That's nothing.
Right. Well, and that's what we did. We did it in less than that.
Does that include like paint and everything? Like
No. That was just the labor.
Okay.
Right. That was just the amount of labor that it took. I think we charged $30,000 back then. That wouldn't even touch this.
Yeah, it barely touches the paint and body work at this point.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, paint's getting so expensive, but I would say, just in the rocker guards, we probably have 35 hours right now in the rocker guards.
Yeah.
Right?
Would somebody have laughed at you 20 years ago at AEV if you said, I'm putting power side steps on a DJ?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, especially because back then it would have been like amp.
Yeah.
And those, you walk by them too fast and they stop working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, if you're walking by it, you turn and you bump into an amp. Yeah, it's not working anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They've got a little bit better, but
Dirt Nerds podcast sponsored to you by AMP.
Research.
We've joked that we would rather get a cease and desist from somebody before sponsorship.
Yeah.
Like we did. I don't know how much you follow. So
tomorrow,
automotive.
Jeep calls you and says, we want to sponsor you and we want to give you 2 brand new JLs.
We're also the guys that have a T-shirt that's literally called the Anti-Jeep Jeep Club.
And a shirt that says "Kill all Jeeps."
Nice.
Yeah. It's like, and it's funny because Tim and I were wearing a Kill All Jeep shirt at Overland Expo back in October, and every Toyota guy was like, "Oh my God, I need one of those shirts," and we're like, "You don't get the point,
right?
If you think it's funny, you don't get the point because it's like it's a love-hate thing, right? the Jeep is the best vehicle for off-roading. I will preach that until I die. They're the biggest piece of shit vehicles ever. I love them. I own 3 of them. Like, so I just they're still garbage. I still hate them.
I'm an official Lunatic Fringe member, right? So
yeah.
I never worked at Chrysler, but I am the only, as far as I know, the only non-Chrysler employee who's an official Lunatic Fringe member. In fact, Phil Toney owned it. He owned the trademark, and when he passed away, he gave it to me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I technically own the Lunatic Fringe trademark. I haven't put it in my name, but I have the will. So
sure.
But it's like I'm a Jeep guy through and through, and Jeeps are amazing. But honestly, XJ, TJ, I can't, like, even JK, I know how good they are.
Right. Oh, right. It's how good they could be.
No, I know how good they are.
Sure.
Right. The suspension, the way that they ride in the handle, the length, and all the improvements that the engineers made to make the JK so awesome. The problem that I don't like all the electronics.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my point, though. Like, that's why we say how good they could be.
I mean, look, multiple TJs. I do JK and JL suspension on a TJ.
There's a reason.
Better. Yeah. So much better.
There's a reason they sold 2.7 million JKs. Like, there's a reason that platform is now the standard for all modifications. Like,
well, I don't know if you were around. Like, I was hardcore into Jeeps and in the Jeep culture when the JK first came out. Like, I worked at AEV, and when JK first launched, when they first hit the showrooms, they built 85% 2-doors.
Yep.
And 15% 4-doors, because they didn't think anybody was going to buy a 4-door.
Yep.
It took almost 2 years to sell those 2-doors, because everybody bought a 4-door, because you could put your kids in it, and the ingress egress was so much easier. So soccer moms across the world had to have them.
Yep.
And then as off-roaders, we learned, oh my God, this wheelbase is amazing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right? Because before that, like 112-inch wheelbase was. Everybody thought it was the best. Yeah. And even when the JK came out, the off-roaders at the time were like, 116, that's too long. Until they used it. And then they're like, oh, well.
And then you lift it, you put 37s on it, and all of a sudden the breakover angle doesn't matter anymore. And it's like, oh, shit, this does really work. Like, because I want to say I was the same way. Like, I was an XJ kid. My first car was an XJ.
But XJs are cool.
XJs are awesome. I still argue it's one of the best cars ever made.
Yeah.
And when the 4-door came out, it was like, it's a minivan. It's an off-road minivan, right? You made fun of it for being 4 doors.
It's a Dodge Caravan.
And now I have a kid and a 4-door JK.
Yep.
And
you can still buy 4-door XJs.
True, I could, but there's more space in a 4-door JK.
You think?
Let me rephrase that.
So I got a fun one for you, just based on that.
There's more airbags in a 4-door JK. Yeah. Not by many, but there's a couple more.
Oh, a lot more, because they even have them in the seats in the later one.
Yeah.
But so a really fun little knowledge drop for you. So when I built for Quadratec the YJL, where I took a JL and turned it into a YJ, I went all the way through it. And the first iteration, we did the grill, we did the dumb lift that they forced me to do, and then all of the little details, right? Like the flip down license plate for the gas filler, and all the YJ stuff. The second iteration, because the first year SEMA got canceled,
right? Because
it was COVID, right? So then we had to bring it to SEMA the next year, so they dropped it back off, and they said do something extra cool. So a guy that worked there, Eric Ammerman, he was the project manager, and I was the builder. And Eric's now the head of sales and marketing for Tyree Lights.
Okay.
But and you should have him on your show.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you don't let people call in, so never mind.
Where is he? We'll go.
He's in Pennsylvania.
Perfect. That's close.
Westchester.
Oh. He's on yeah. All right. I didn't realize Tyree was.
No, Tyree's Wisconsin.
Okay.
He's head of sales and marketing.
But he's in Westchester.
He works remote.
It's probably 2 hours.
Podcast as well, right?
Yeah, he did Mediocre. He's had a podcast for years and years and years.
Yeah. Well, we'll go to him.
So we decided to throw a straight 6 in it.
Yep.
Right? So because Jeep should have a straight 6. It's kind of like the best motor ever built.
Yep.
Right? So we hired a company to build a stroker, and then I decided to really nerd out, and I ripped every piece of wiring out of that JL and threw it in the garbage. So between the dash and the wiring, it was 236 pounds that I threw in the dumpster.
I honestly would have expected it to be a bigger number.
And then I put a 7-pound wiring harness in it from Painless, just a YJ wiring harness.
6 wires or 6 circuits.
Yeah. Right. And then the dash, I went out and I got a YJ dash. And the YJ dash weighs like 16 pounds.
Yep.
And that's the complete dash with gauges and everything. Put that in it. Now this is where the truth or the knowledge bomb hits you. I had to narrow the YJ dash to fit in a JL.
I'm not surprised by that.
So most people would think, oh, JL's so much bigger. I had to narrow the YJ dash to fit in a JL. 3/4 of an inch on each side. Now, the top of the dash was full width.
The door panels.
The bottom of the dash, I had to hourglass it down.
For the door panel.
And it's because on a YJ, the body is this thick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And the doors are a certain thickness.
The
JL, the body is like this thick.
Yeah.
And then the door's this thick.
Chromosomes.
Right?
Well, structure, because all the JL doors are aluminum.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So there's added width in there probably.
No, they're the same width as a JK door.
All right. It's always hard to. I mean, I know that from a cosmetic standpoint, the door panels are bigger on the JL than they are on like the JK.
In fact, a lot of people don't realize that from the A pillar back.
Yeah.
The JK and the JL are almost identical.
Yeah. That I knew. I know because like the windshield's tilted back on the JL more than the JK.
Yep.
And that's about really the only. And they added some body lines and whatever other cosmetic stuff, but structurally they're almost identical.
Yeah, like if you were to take the outer skin off, and set a JL and a JK next to each other, you really couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, most of the changes that I know of are like engineering wise. Like I think the suspension geometry on the JL is better from a road manner standpoint.
Oh yeah,
like I think a stock JL rides and handles really well. And like I noticed it right away with the shop. I think they made the JLs easier to modify. Like the stock brake lines are longer. The way
well, they did that in JK though. So like the early JKs, the brake lines sucked.
Yeah.
In 12, they made the brake lines a lot longer.
Yes.
They just had that little bracket.
It's the 2 generations.
Yeah. So you just peel that bracket open, and now you can put an 8-inch lift on it.
Yeah.
And that's another funny one is all these people who change brake lines. Yeah. Right. Well, I had to buy I got braided stainless brake lines for $300. Guess what? The factory ones are braided stainless.
They just have rubber coating.
Have a rubber coating.
Yeah.
They're better.
But they're not red. Or they're not color matched.
Yeah.
I know.
Cool kids, man.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I mean, you see my builds.
Yep.
I have customers. Will you powder coat my suspension? No, I won't.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
The only thing we truly refuse is anything that isn't a 7-slot grill.
Yep.
Angry grills, Vader grills, grumpers.
Wow.
Like,
so we're actually coming out with the YJL grill.
Right.
So it'll be for sale. Actually, so we have a
Can
pre-order
you do
on
a
the website.
YJK grill? I'll run a YJK grill. I like putting square headlights on things.
I can do one.
How do you feel about putting a YJ grill on an LJ?
Yeah. Want one? You want to bring? I've got a couple YJ grills. You can take one home with you.
I probably have I actually definitely. I know I have a bunch of YJ grills.
I've thought about it.
I've never understood.
It is not a lot of modification to make it work.
I was just it's really.
Because I wanted a YJ. I wanted like a 92.
You want one? I'm selling mine.
Because I was born in 92. I wanted a Jeep from the year I was born.
So do it.
Mine's a 90. Mine could be a 92 if you wanted to.
Because technically, all I'd have to do is modify the fenders, the hood, and the grill. Yeah. That's it. And then just
a couple mounting points.
Engine.
It's been done.
Yeah.
And it's not
because I see people do the YJ stretches to do the unlimited wheelbase, and I'm like, I'm already there. All I have to do is change the grill.
Yeah.
I would. I don't understand the hate for the square headlight thing. I've never quite get it.
Just because it's different.
I know, but
right. I mean, that's it. It's because it's different. So if you watch on my YouTube, there's a video with the Lunatic Fringe guys, and they're talking. And I it might be Remembering Phil Toney. I forget which one it is. It's like an hour long. But Dave Thompson and Phil Toney, who were both development engineers on the YJ, were actually sitting right there, and we did a full interview. And the square headlight thing. So the reason for it. Like they gave us the whole reasoning and the how and the why and the what. So with the CJ, 60 Minutes did an article on the CJ. and about what a horrible tip-over hazard they were. Right?
So it was a marketing thing. Is that where this is going?
Yeah. So Jeep's market share crashed because at the time, 60 Minutes was like the shit.
Yeah.
Right? It's in the mid-'80s, 60 Minutes. And so AMC had it, and their market share just went, and they weren't selling any Jeeps. So they had to do something. So they tasked this team, who were the original Lunatic Fringe guys, with redesigning the Jeep, right? Make it not tip over, add a couple creature comforts, make it fancy, and change that fucking grill, right? It can't have round headlights, it can't look like a CJ, can't look like an old military Jeep, right? Blah, blah, blah. So they did the square headlights, they did the whole 9 yards, and the first time they showed it off in public, it was in Colorado, and it's a marketing thing where they first show off the vehicle. And they showed it off, and, kind of like when a movie premiere, right, where they just show it to a select few. Well, they showed it to that select few, and the people were like, oh, my God, no, the grill, square headlights, this is blasphemy. And a marketing dude came out, and he's like, no, we did it for a reason. Where you sit in the Jeep is the same as it is in a CJ. However, we did the square headlights, which dropped the grill down a little bit, so from the driver's seat, you can see over the hood better. You have a better field of vision, so when you're off-roading, you can see it. Complete lie.
Yeah.
100% lie. However, the entire place was like, that's awesome! And fell in love with it.
That's
Take
awesome.
my money!
Right. So, and the same thing, like the YJ was the first Wrangler.
Yep.
There was never a Wrangler before that.
Yep.
Right? They were CJs, and that was it.
Yep.
So it was the first Wrangler, and it is why Jeep is still alive today.
Yep.
Right? Because they gave some
the
options.
The YJ saved
the
Jeep.
Iacocca and the XJ.
Well, yeah, they actually did good too. But the YJ saved the Wrangler, or saved the Jeep platform that we're used to. And the creature comforts, right? They added the little plastic on the dash, and they added a couple things.
The clock.
Right. So they gave it some creature comforts, and then some soccer moms liked it, and it was still a very entry-level vehicle. They were very inexpensive to own.
Yeah.
Right.
But it flat out saved the Wrangler, the Jeep brand.
Yep.
And then JK way outdid it, right? So when they came out with TJ, it was even nicer.
Yep.
Rode and handled better.
Yep.
Still didn't tip over like the CJs did because they added track bars and sway bars. But
go figure.
CJs
wide enough axles.
But when the JK came out, right, that was just a home run for Jeep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's like,
but I still don't like them.
Oh yeah, it's such a love-hate thing, right? Like I don't know where you stand in the duck community thing. That answers my question.
That face said it all.
So when the duck thing very first started, which was COVID time, right? Very first started, I had actually just finished the YJL, and I went to an event with it, and I brought my son, and it was Toledo Jeep Fest.
Yeah.
So I went there, and we walked around, said hi to all the buddies in the industry, came back to the Jeep, and there was literally like 30 ducks on the paint that was 4 days old. Right? And
see?
and mind you, like a lot of people don't realize how much paint costs nowadays. You can't go to, it's not like Mako $900 paint job.
Mako Mistako.
This Jeep was built for SEMA. It had a $25,000 paint job that was a couple days old.
Yep.
And there was ducks all over.
I mean, I'm biased, but I still think you were wrong for that one.
Now, if you know what you're doing, I don't care how fancy the paint is. If you know what you're doing, you can walk up and you can put a 10-pound dumbbell on the paint and never hurt it. But you have to be very gentle and set it down very straight and not let it move.
Yeah.
When people walk by and throw a fucking duck on your Jeep, right? And then it got worse. So at the end of that event, I got mad about the ducks, right? It's not the end of the world. Yeah. But at the end of the event, I'm a big steward with Tread Lightly and some other organizations and proper wheeling and proper recovery and teaching people the right thing. At the end of Toledo Jeep Fest that year, it was about 7 o'clock at night. We came out from the restaurant, and mind you, there's hundreds of thousands of people littering the street. At the end of the day, there's nobody. But there was thousands and thousands and thousands of ducks in the gutters, littering the street. They were everywhere because you don't always see it, right? Somebody puts it on your Jeep, you might not see it. because you're in a hurry or you're staring at your phone or whatever, and you go to drive away, and there it's on the ground.
Yep.
Now we're the idiots.
Wind blows it off.
Yeah.
The Jeep people are now the idiots who are leaving this stupid fucking bath toys everywhere.
Yeah.
Save the environment. Fuck ducks.
Yeah. So that year I actually did a video,
Yeah.
which got me a lot of hate.
Of course.
And it was just a very quick video. I took a duck and I set it on the ground outside.
Just light on fire.
And I said, oh, look, somebody ducked another one of my Jeeps. And I burned it with blowtorch, right? And I put that as a YouTube short. I think it was the first YouTube short I ever did. And the comments just ripped me to shreds for days and days and days and days and days. And I don't care, right? I understand we want to do things that make people feel good.
Right.
Right? And I understand the joy that some people get from these ducks.
I don't.
I do. I understand. Well, right? If you're that simple,
do it for the kids. That's about it.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah, but look at the adults with 50 of them on their dashboard.
This is what I'm saying. I get the concept. I get the joy from the concept of like, oh, somebody thinks my Jeep is cool,
right?
So they gave me this gift. Like that general concept, I get.
Yeah, but most of them you see on stock Jeeps.
Well, that's beside the point. But where it's gotten to and why they're collected across dashboards and like we've seen them where like people
now, the bath toy industry loves it.
Oh yeah, they're leaning on it hard.
The little duck landing platforms are like people 3D print the things that attach to the mirrors now.
Somebody printed a pool that you can hang off of it.
Yeah, I know it's silly. And even as we're getting into manufacturing, it's funny because last year we came out with the door pockets.
Yep.
And we're coming out with door pockets for JK in a few weeks, and the
good.
grill and a couple other things. But everybody at the manufacturing company that I'm working with, should we do something for the ducks?
No.
Should we make our own ducks?
No.
Should we? We can injection mold a thing for the ducks.
Of course you can.
No, we can't.
I mean, we can.
We can't. I don't care.
Actually, this might be the best thing to come of these tariffs. Maybe the ducks will be too expensive and we'll stop buying
As
them.
long as AMW doesn't start printing duck branded ones, we'll be fine.
So that's one thing about Jared. And I love Jared. And like,
just a little shield on a duck. If that happens,
he puts his logo on everything.
Oh yeah, rightly so.
In the headlights. So
it's everywhere you look. We were scouring one yesterday.
But when you walk up to it and you look and you go, those are Nemesis fenders, or those are so and so's bumpers, or those are so and so's lights.
Brands.
But they're all branded.
Yeah.
It's another company's design and everything, and then you're branding it. I understand branding your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't understand branding somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they don't hide that it's like made by Nemesis, like it's a private label bumper made by Nemesis.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that they don't hide it, but own your own shit. Right?
Yeah.
Like my door pockets, right? I put them on one of his Jeeps. He even and I was like, hey, do you want to put these on any of your Jeeps? I'll sell them to you at a great price.
Put my logo on it.
He's like, can I put my logo on it? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I think it's more of a package thing.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense. I don't care. I'm super proud of my logo.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I'm super proud. I've spent a lot of time, a lot of effort designing it, building my name, getting people to understand unofficial use only.
That's my logo.
7 slot?
Yep.
Yeah, he drew that.
No, I know him.
Angel? Yeah. I drew that for him.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Angel.
Angel was one of the first people on our podcast.
I have a hat from Happy Stitches that says VAOG.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Angel's a good dude. But
small world.
But 100%, I understand, the effort that you put into a brand and your stuff. But I wouldn't buy something from, let's say any one of these builds. I wouldn't buy something from AEV or ARB or TerraFlex and force them to put my name on it.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's cool that he does it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm not a fan of what he does, because I'm a fan of everything he's done and everything he's made.
Yeah.
But
I would argue
branding Nemesis's fenders is my own. No.
Yeah.
I would argue that
you can argue all you want. You're not going to change my opinion.
I'm not trying to change your opinion.
I'll slap you with my penis.
Tim is here in spirit. I love it.
It's bigger than a baby's arm. Hold an apple.
The way I see it, I guess, is probably a better way to put it. I get what he is doing with it, right? Because his market, the people who are he's going after and want an AMW Gladiator.
Yeah.
They want an AMW Gladiator.
Yeah.
So you put that logo everywhere, and that just makes it more appealing.
Yeah, but at some point, it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
I think that having unfortunately spent enough time.
I mean, it's like Jeep. Look at Jeep. And again, I love Jeep.
Yeah.
Do you really need to put a Jeep logo on your drive shaft?
Yeah.
Do you need to put it on every wheel?
Yeah.
Do you need to put it? And I understand the Easter eggs. Like Rick Payway's flip flops are on the fucking visor. And I own a company with Payway, right?
Yeah.
Like him and I own Gun Jeepin'.
Yeah.
With a few other people. But I understand the stuff, but at some point you're overdoing it, right?
Yeah.
There's always too much of a good thing.
Overkill.
I would say they're right on that edge for me and my personal taste. Where
I'm waiting for the AMW tire.
Right. Like there comes a point where it is too much.
Now, if he did like the AMW tire and they all smoked like Demon Red or something,
that would cool.
kind of be cool. Yeah. And you
As
can
an
do
option.
that. You can buy tires that way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, maybe
it's
listen
just
to the
at some
podcast
point you're stepping over that line.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also not a good businessman. Otherwise, I mean, I do some pretty.
You'd have
epic
30,000
builds.
square feet down the road.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of how I feel about myself sometimes.
Right. So maybe the way he's doing it is way better than what I would do.
Well, and like I said, I think it comes.
Maybe
down,
I should learn.
It comes down to the market, right? Like, I agree with you. I wouldn't put my logo on something we didn't build.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
I won't even do a windshield banner because
Right.
I think it looks stupid.
Yeah. I am all about what can we build and put our logo on it, right? Like,
Right.
we just had an Ineos Grenadier in the shop, and he fabbed up a bracket to mount an S-Pod under the back seat. I took his cardboard template, I drew it in CAD, and I ordered 5 of them from Send Cut Send, and now I'm sitting there looking.
Send cut send.
I haven't got my plasma up and running yet.
Buy one of those.
I have a Langmuir Crossfire table.
No. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah, I saw that, by the way. That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Do you know why?
Because it burns the parts?
No.
Oh. Does
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah.
Small in stature, did great things.
Clever.
That thing-
Double meaning.
I had one in my cart when we moved.
You should have bought it.
When I moved into my new
It
shop.
would make his life easier.
When I moved into my new shop, it came with the Langmuir Crossfire.
Yeah.
I didn't buy them. It was literally
No, I
part of the
understand.
equipment
Yeah.
at my shop.
But that,
yeah,
you don't need a computer.
I know. It has its own
It has a
handheld.
stylus.
Yeah.
And
You can literally
you can take your cardboard.
You trace your cardboard.
So you do your CAD, your cardboard aided design. You walk over, you set it down, and you take the stylus and you go toot, 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 toot,
yeah.
boop,
God damn it.
and it burns your part out.
Yeah. Listen,
So
I'll trade you. You want a Langmuir Crossfire
No, I don't.
table? I'll deliver it.
So like all of the suspension brackets
Yeah.
and stuff on that.
Yeah.
Like let's say a control arm mount, piece of cardboard. 4 minutes later, I have the piece
Yep.
of steel done.
Yeah.
Because I walk over there, I trace it out, I hit burn, it burns it. I walk in there. If it needs a bend, I put it on the swag press, I bend it, and I put it on, and I'm done.
And the best part is it saves the file after you do it.
Yes.
Like it literally
You can
takes
burn
all
the same
CAD
thing
drawing.
1,000 times.
Listen, you don't have to sell me on one of those. I wanted one, but now I can't justify spending the money on one
They're
because
cheap. They're
Shut up,
$2,000.
PJ.
It's like $2,000. It's cheaper than a welder.
I don't disagree with you.
Here, watch this.
But I already have.
Are you a mechanic in his shop?
Yep.
Do you purchase your own tools?
Yep.
Shut the fuck up and buy yourself one.
See, now we're talking.
It's a write-off.
Pay me more.
It's a write-off.
True.
Fine, I'll buy-
Yeah.
Oh, and for you,
Yeah.
shop supply, that's it's almost 100% write-off. So shut the fuck up and just buy it.
I don't need it now.
The
Yes, you
write-off
do.
people.
No, I don't.
It's better than the log.
I-
It's more useful for your guys.
From a flat part standpoint,
Oh, and it gets better. Watch this. You don't need a table. You can take that.
You can move it anywhere.
You can move it and just set it right on the steel you're cutting. So like this little table out of steel,
Yeah.
I can pick that up, set it on it, cut it right there.
Oh.
I can plug it into the back of a JL Gladiator
Yeah.
and burn on the
110.
tailgate.
Again, you don't have to sell me on one.
He's doing it anyways.
Either way, I have to buy a new plasma cutter if I'm going to run that or the Langmuir.
No, you don't.
You don't need. You can run high frequency start on this.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, look, it's running fucking...
I know it's a Cutmaster.
Yeah, it just plugs right into it.
No, right. But the high frequency start torch doesn't affect electronics in that.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm.
Because all it does is it keys to the trigger.
Yeah, but it still has.
No, it just talks to the trigger.
I'll have to do some research.
Yeah. So like when you pull on your trigger.
Yeah, I mean
that's what it does.
Either way, from just buy it. I'll sell the Langmuir. Fine, because I can probably honestly get $2,000 for that thing.
How big is the Langmuir? How big is your table?
It's a 2x2, so it's no more capable than that.
Yeah, that's like 30 by 20.
I know.
And you can even buy the little slide thing so that you can do 6 feet if you want.
Yeah, I know. Again, you don't have to convince me that is more useful than what I currently have, because I know I can also upload CAD onto that and cut it. Like I can use it just as anything else.
Yeah, it's got a
the only thing mine can do that
so you can do your
don't
stuff
have,
in your computer, plug it in, and hit play, or you can manually do it. But
I have Z-axis control though. That's the only other thing. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I have it.
Right. That self does it itself. It just goes, finds it, and then. But it's.
But I can cut different thicknesses at the same time.
As far as like hand fabrication, so I bought it a year and a half ago.
They're awesome. They're so good.
That is literally the single best fabrication tool I've ever purchased, next to a 2x72 belt grinder.
Yep.
Right. You should get one of those too.
What is it?
2x72 belt grinder.
Oh, belt grinder. Okay.
2x72.
Yeah. So you
get some attachments.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get a really good one, costs 3 times what that costs.
Like the Ameribraid ones.
Yeah, they're okay. They're pretty good.
What do you run?
Mine's oh my god. I'll think about it as soon as I'm not thinking of it.
Okay.
We'll look at it off air.
Yeah.
It's from like New York.
Okay.
So it's one of the oldest ones there are.
We have a couple.
If you have ever used one, it'll blow your mind.
We have a couple like non-automotive fab projects in the works that deposits haven't been paid yet, but I have ideas and CAD stuff that I've started to draw together that
I think
I'm
going
to need to buy some
a
stuff.
barbecue tomorrow.
Yeah,
non-automotive.
Like the flat pack.
Kingsford charcoal.
Yeah.
They got a hold of a buddy. He got a hold of me this morning. They want a golf cart turned into a barbecue.
That sounds like a fun project.
What is this, Monster Garage?
Yeah. For the best part is they want it done end of next week.
Oh.
I mean,
frames.
I will say in the 48 hours we've been here, my Facebook Marketplace has been significantly
that was the
more
first thing
fruitful.
I did when we got here.
Oh, dude, if
it's bad here. I'm glad I didn't bring the truck.
It gets so much worse once you learn people.
Oh, you don't even have to go on Facebook Marketplace anymore? I have a handful of those at home.
There's stuff in Michigan that you would never know. Like a friend of mine just bought an AMC3.
I don't even know what that is. And I know a lot of obscure cars.
Okay, so this one's Ferrari built like the chassis, and AMC did the powertrain, and it was a whole thing. So they built 6 cars.
Yep.
It was basically AMC was building a supercar.
Yeah. The 60s were a wild time.
Yeah, it's a mid-engine, full-on race car.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. So they built 6 of them. There's, I think, 3 known to exist now. Mm-hmm. But a buddy was always fascinated by him, and he's a money buddy, right? He's got some monies.
Everybody needs one of those friends. Still looking for mine.
Like, his starts with a B.
Yeah.
But he was fascinated with these cars, always looked at them. There was a Facebook post from the Keweenaw Peninsula. So it's a peninsula up near Traverse City. There's a Facebook post, and I don't know how he found it, but he found it. And it was this dude who, lived in a trailer park, from the trailer hood, the whole 9 yards. In Dad's garage, Dad had passed away, and he took a picture, and in the far corner of the picture, you could see just this fender. Right? And nobody knew what it was. Somehow,
he knew what it was.
Chet saw it and went up there. Took a bunch of time, finally got in with the family, talked to him, blah, blah, blah. Bought the car for a ridiculous amount of money.
Like high or low? Like they knew what it was?
He
or did he give them a fair price?
He's an honest person.
He gave him a fair price.
Like, they would have accepted 100 times less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And he's restoring the car and building a duplicate at the same time. Right? I mean,
that's dumb money.
I don't know how much he's into it right now, but my guess is
more than all 3 of us can afford combined.
Millions.
Yeah.
Plurals.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But just sitting there, and there's so many others. Like, I mean, my J20, right? It's just a stupid J20, right? 1986, last year the J20, 40,000 miles.
Yeah.
And it was sitting
In a field.
No, it wasn't in a field until I brought it home. Then it went to a field. But it was sitting in a resort town behind a hotel. The last time
it was like an old fleet truck?
No,
like
the last time it was registered was 1994. Because they bought it. So the original owner bought it. He sold it to the property, and they used it to plow their driveway.
That's it.
It never went on the road. That's why it only has 40,000 miles. There's just like super cool. Rare, unique cars in Michigan. Lots of them.
Yeah.
Because until the government said you have to destroy these cars, all the one-of-ones and all the show cars and all those used to go home
with people, right?
With engineers and whoever. And then in the 90s, somebody had a brake failure and sued. And then the government said, you can't.
You can't.
You got to destroy them all now.
Yeah.
Right. So 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all those one-of-ones are in Michigan. 90% of them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like we can drive, I could take you on a day trip. Well, we'd probably have to do a few days, but I could take you on a day trip and we could hit 20 different places that I know of that have one-of-one cars.
I might have to take you up on that.
I know where the very first, and it's been offered to me, I know where the very first LJ in the world, the #1 prototype is. And I can go get it tomorrow if I want it.
All right, so Dan
guess what? It has 0 miles. It's never been driven. It's never been started.
Dan just lost his job as our Michigan tour guide when we come back.
So
Greg's hired.
The very first, that LJ is not in Michigan anymore.
No.
But the very first
Michigan
don't get me excited.
It's in Arizona.
That's very far.
So
we're going wheeling in Arizona and then finding an LJ.
The very first LJ only had the 10-inch frame stretch. It did not have the additional 5 inches of body. It was also because they were doing it for 03. They were doing it at the same launch of the Rubicon.
Yeah.
Right? So it's got Rubicon axles. It has the 4.7 V8 from a Grand Cherokee because they were going to do a V8 option for Unlimiteds. And
I have a 5.2.
It has Grand Cherokee control arms, which I don't know why they did that, but Grand Cherokee control arms.
Like the wishbone one?
No, just the slightly longer ones.
Okay. So not the WJ.
I wonder if that's just like that. That's what they had.
No, they were going to do it because they were slightly longer.
Oh,
because they were doing it as a Rubicon LJ because they were going to make a longer suspension too. But
so it'd be kind of cool if they did that triangulated wishbone thing.
No, so they got 85-90% done with it.
Yeah.
And then the head of Jeep design at the time came in. So the Lunatic Fringe guys were building it. He came in and he looked and he goes, yeah, I think it needs a little bit more body. Scrap that one, build another one that's 5 inches longer. So it didn't get scrapped. Instead, one of the lead engineers brought it home, and then he gave it to another engineer who ran a proving ground out in Arizona. So
you just start befriending engineers.
And he never finished it.
Slap him first.
Yeah.
So the wiring has never been plugged in. So it's never been started. It has 0 miles, and it is prototype #1, and I can have it. I can go get it tomorrow if I want it. I'm trying to
road trip
justify in my head if I really want to bring it home. Well, the problem is you can't modify it.
Yeah, you can't do anything with that. Yeah, you have to get it running and leave it just the way it is.
You have to finish it the way they originally intended. Yeah. However,
there's not many cars I would agree with that.
Now, one bonus is AEV came out with the Highline kit.
Yeah.
When that engineer brought it home to Arizona, he purchased a Highline kit.
Okay.
Right? Now, he was one of the original lead engineers of the program and the Lunatic Fringe guys. So technically, you could put the Highline kit on it because that finished their vision.
Sure.
Yeah. But you couldn't do anything else, right? Yep. So you could do no lift, 34s, Highline kit, paint it the right color, and they never did the top. So
you don't need that really, though.
No, you could do a soft top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or just no top.
But other things in Michigan, like I know where the very first Corvette is. The very first prototype.
Like the 52.
Yeah. I know where the very first Viper is. So, and a lot of people don't realize that the first 6 Vipers were all-wheel drive.
Did not know that.
They were all-wheel drive, and they were 750 horsepower.
That sounds like a good time.
It sounds like a really good time.
But 2 of the first prototypes still exist.
That would be like mid-90s, right? So that would be like in the GMC Typhoon and Cyclone and like all that all-wheel drive, like the Grand National, like that turbo.
All that stuff's around here.
Well, yeah, I know all that stuff's
Show
around
up. You should 100% come to Michigan.
Yeah.
In August for the Dream Cruise. If you're a car person,
August is really, really busy for us, but
it's busy for everybody. But the Dream Cruise is something that happens in Michigan every year. And you go down to Woodward, because Woodward is where everybody used to cruise way back in the day. And all these cars come out. People bring out these cars. Sometimes some of the cars that are there, it's the only time of the year they see sunlight. And you'll see a million stupid cars.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll see 100,000 hot rods and wet rods and muscle cars, right? And some of them are gorgeous and some of them are But if you stand there long enough, all of a sudden you'll be like, and if you're really a car nerd, you'll be like, something's weird about that car. And you go talk to them and you'll find out, oh yeah, well this was the development or engineering buck for this or this or this. You know, like until a few years ago, so when Fiat bought Jeep, or when Fiat bought Chrysler.
Yeah.
And it would make a million car people cry if they knew. But there was a guy, and he had a warehouse. And he was in the legal department at Chrysler, and he saved them billions of dollars in lawsuits. But one of the other things he did is he was in charge of certain vehicles that needed to get scrapped. And some of the things he couldn't bring himself to scrap, like a lot of these one-of-ones. And so he had this warehouse, and because he'd been there so long, he had a certain amount of leeway, and the upper echelon of people just let him get away with it. So because they still owned it, it's not like that any of it was ever sold,
right?
But he literally filled this warehouse with hundreds of one-of-one cars, right? Hundreds. He had Mopar Dodge drag cars from the 70s, like Mopar sponsored drag cars from the 70s, still sitting there. He had four-door YJs and four-door TJs, and
just basically all the concept
and every
stuff.
CJ that had a V8, and,
If I
world
could imagine
cabs.
a four-door YJ.
Yeah, he had just this amazing collection. Like he had a 1,000,000-mile Javelin. So it was the Javelin with the swoopy fenders, right? With a 426 Hemi in it. So the only Javelin ever with a Hemi.
Yeah.
So they built that car as a test pig for longevity.
Okay.
So basically they just took a shell that they had, they threw a 426 in it, they put it on a dyno, and they let it run. Well, it ended up I forget how many miles it was supposed to get, like 250,000 or whatever, but it ended up coinciding with the holidays. So everybody went home, this thing's on an engine, a gas drip, and an oil drip, and it just kept running, right? So then everybody's back to work, blah, blah, blah. Somebody saw the ticker and realized, and I think they let it run for a few more days, and it broke 1,000,000 miles. So they had a 426 Hemi, 4-speed car that ran 1,000,000 miles, right? Well, when they pulled it off the dyno, the engineering team was like, So instead of just scrapping it, they pulled the powertrain out, put a brand new powertrain in it, and then a couple weeks later, after somebody drove it for a little bit, it was just destined to go to scrap. Well, that gentleman who had that warehouse put it in the back corner, right? So the hardest part for me is because I was well aware of it. I knew the guy since I was a little kid. That building had hundreds of cars, right? It had every version of Viper that was ever built, every version of horsepower, anything that Mopar ever did was in that building. And Fiat bought they ended up owning everything. He pissed off some people. So he was involved with the aftermarket, right?
Okay.
If somebody at Terraflex needed a new JK, right? He would do some bartering because the show, some of the show Jeeps needed axles or needed a suspension or needed whatever. And these guys needed some data, so he'd just ship them a Jeep. They'd get to get all their data. They'd send some parts, right? And nobody ever exchanged any monies. And like all the show cars, like the lower 40s and the new Kaiser and all those, well, they had parts from the aftermarket on them.
Yeah.
It was all part of that deal.
Okay.
Well,
so all those EJS concept Jeeps that we had for years.
Yeah. So Fiat went, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be in paper. There's no more of that stuff. Well, then a couple months before EGS happens, and they need to build all these things, but nobody can get any parts because of these new rules. So he just went and did it anyway and got these Jeeps done. And Jeep got all the fanfare and all the love because the concept cars were there and everybody loved them, and Jeep's on the top of everybody's tongue again. But the Fiat people didn't see it that way. They just went, "You're fucking fired." And then, to add insult to injury, they drove Skytrax in, and they'd spear the side of a car and put it on top of a flatbed, and then they'd spear the side of another one and put it on top of that one, and everything went to the crusher. The downfall is for a car guy, every car that predated the government's rule, so everything, and I forget what year it was like 92 or 93, every car older than that could have been sold at like Barrett-Jackson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And when you
or at the very, how many freaking car museums are around
But when
here?
you think of the cars that were there, right, these are all one-of-ones, right? The original Dodge Mopar drag cars from the 70s sitting there. Nobody even knew they existed. They've been sitting in this building for 35 years. Some of those cars would have gone for $1 million.
Oh, at least.
Right? Some of the first Vipers that were sitting there would have gone for $1 million.
Easily.
Right?
Easily.
That 426 Javelin, only one in existence, probably would have sold for $1 million.
And Fiat took over in what, 2011, 12?
12, and this all happened in 13.
Right. So that was like the height of the collector car market.
Yeah.
Because I was working at a car museum back then. I mean, cars were selling for millions of dollars every week.
Yeah. And they had all of them. Hundreds of cars. Hundreds.
Wild. That makes me hate Fiat even more.
Yeah.
So all of those got scrapped.
Those of everything. Everything.
Added to the list of reasons why we're the anti-Jeep Jeep Club.
That wasn't Jeep, though. That was Fiat.
But that's the point, right? Like, that's like current day.
Yeah, like the guy, he was a staple. Everybody loved him. And because of what they did to him, everybody, like the industry. I remember going to EJS, the next year.
It also explains why the EJS concepts have gone to shit in the last 5 years.
Some of them.
And have slowed.
But I remember going to EJS the next year, and all these people who he'd helped for years, all these companies, right? And I've known this guy since when I was 12 when I met him. And nobody would even say his name. Everybody was afraid to recognize that they worked with him because they didn't want the new owners of Jeep to find out. Right? So he was like ostracized. And he's such an amazing dude too. But yeah, it just, stuff like that happens all the time. Yeah. But the cool part is in Michigan, there are so many places where these super, super rare one-of-one cars are. I mean, like 67 Shelby, right? Yep. Everybody knows what that is. Yep. I know a guy up north that's got like 12 of them in his garage. Sure. And I'll bet you he didn't pay more than $1,000 for any one of them. Yeah. He also is, like 80 and wouldn't sell one for anything. Right.
Yeah.
And when he dies, they'll probably get scrapped.
His grandkids are just like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to pay for my college.
Or not know what they are and what they're worth. And just,
there's an amazing plethora of cool cars in Michigan.
I learned about it. So the car museum I worked at was in Colorado, the Gateway Auto Museum. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but they had the F88 concept, the Oldsmobile F88, which was the one of three Harley Earl snuck it out of whatever story you want to believe, but it was one of those one-of-one concept cars that didn't exist, and then it existed, and fully restored, and sold for millions and millions of dollars. And then
I maintain one.
Yeah.
Not one of those. I maintain a 1968 426 Hemi Charger.
Okay.
That has lived right up the, right up the road, 45 minutes from here.
Yeah.
It's lived there its entire life. It's got 31,000 original miles.
It was probably like $6,500 brand new.
No, way less.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's a one-of-one car.
Sure.
It's a one-of-one car and a one-of-seven car. So it's they only made 475 Hemis. In '68. But it's a Hemi. It's a 4-speed. It's a non-vinyl top car.
Okay.
So there was only 7 Hemis built without a vinyl top.
Yep.
And then the really fun part is there's a memo that was sent to the owner when it was time to pick up his car. And so he ran a machine shop. And the memo came from Frank Lutz.
Okay.
And Frank Lutz said, your car's in, go get it before anybody sees the VIN. So it's a 1968 drag pack Hemi with a VIN. So drag packs have never been allowed to have a VIN number.
No shit.
So they put a drag pack in this car and a VIN number for this one guy. And Frank Lutz sent him a memo saying, go get your car right now.
Yeah, for the dealer
before anybody
figures it
opens
out.
the hood and realizes, right? So it's a one-of-one car. It's probably a $3.5 million car.
That's cool.
And I get to drive it every year.
Yeah.
right? So Frank, the original owner, Frank, not Frank Lutz, but he drove it. He even drove it to Denver once. There's the only time it was in the rain is when he drove it to Denver. But he put 30,000 miles on it. It was his drag car. Like, it was his weekend. You know, he would go to Milan. When he was up in age, when he hit 80, he actually took the 4-speed out and put a 727 in it because he couldn't shift as fast as the could, and he wanted to get a faster ET. Yeah. You know, the car does an 8.5-second quarter mile.
It's wild.
But it's 100% there. Yeah.
So, and that was like, I think that the glory of the 60s is when you ordered those cars, you individualized all those things, where now everything's a package, right? Like we had one of the first 10 Yanko Camaros ever built. It wasn't branded with the Yanko Super Camaro logos and everything else, but it was a 427,
and it was proved that Yanko built it.
The Muncie Rock Crusher 4-speed, like, and it was rated at 450 horsepower because anything more from an insurance standpoint was a race car.
Right.
And like, I remember pulling the thing into the car museum, and you know, if you blipped the throttle, it would peel the carpet up. Like, it was like, it's just, and it's one of 10, and it's like, it was restored by a guy in Colorado, and it scored 999 out of 1,000 at Camaro Nationals. Like, all these cars, and they just exist. And when you look at it, it just looks like a 67 Camaro. Yeah. It just looks like a 67 SS.
Yeah. But Michigan's loaded with them. That's, you know, that's the basis, and it's a lot of fun.
So we're going to have to plan a road trip. We're going to come up. We're going to spend like a week just driving around Michigan, finding all these one-on-ones.
It's where the cars are.
Call the tourism board.
No, mind you,
you heard it here first.
The downfall is a lot of those guys, you know,
don't want to share them.
No, a lot of the guys that were in that, we're losing them, and we're losing them fast.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. They're of the age where we're losing them. There was another guy, Mike Smith, who was in all of the Mopar stuff. Right. He was big into it, and he had 78 Spirit GT.
Yep.
But it was the very first AMX Spirit GT, which I don't know if you know what a Spirit is, but they're the size of a Chevette. Yep. But he had one with a 401, right? The first AMX.
Yeah.
So, and we lost. He sold it a year and a half ago, but we lost him last year. And, you know, we just lost Phil Toney, and we just lost Dave Thompson. And, you know, all those guys, we're rapidly losing them. And in the last 10 years, a lot of them moved to, like, Florida and Arizona and took their prize car with them. You know, so it's a bad time for those 60s and 70s cars. You know, there's still a ton of them here, but the 70s and 80s cars and early 90s cars you'll still find. But, you know, give it another 10, 20 years, we're going to lose those guys too.
I mean, it's really no different than, you know, when we see stuff from the 20s and 30s. Like, I can pick out a 20s Ford versus a Chevy because I spent 2 years at a car museum. I've been a car nerd my whole life.
I just sold my 36 Studebaker.
Okay. Yeah. But we drove by what I'm pretty sure was a 30 something Model A for sale on the way up here. And he goes, "Is that a Model T?" I was like, not quite. Little new. About 15 years ago. But
I don't know enough about him, so.
Right. But that's my point. Like our generation sees the 80s and 90s and is like, oh, that's old cars, right? Well, and even younger than us. Like, I feel like.
Well, yeah. How old are you?
33.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'll be 35 this year.
You're fucking puppies.
Yeah.
Yep.
But and that's what I'm saying.
I'm 47, even though I look like I'm 65. 47, born in 77.
Yeah. But I feel like there's a huge gap because like even like my friends that I grew up with that are car guys. We all know and appreciate the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
Right? And like I maybe I'm biased. To me, that's the heyday of cars. Yeah. Right? As cool as the stuff in the 30s and the 50s were.
Yeah, the 80s didn't do a lot of good for cars.
Right. But
and I hate to say it because I was, you know, an adolescent in the 80s.
Sure.
They were all square boxy. They all started to look alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at anything from the teens through the early 70s, every car was unique.
Well,
everyone,
to an extent.
Well, okay, yeah, you might have
the Bonneville and the Bel Air.
Well, yeah, but it's still the same car, right? But every major car was completely different. A Ford did not look. A Ford was a Ford.
Right.
A Chevy was a Chevy. An AMC was an AMC. Right. They all were very distinctive.
Yes.
And you could tell from a quarter mile away what it was. Today, you can have a Fiat, a Chevy, a Ford, and a Honda.
And they're all the same shade of silver.
All parked at a stoplight, and you don't know what they are until you're 5 feet away.
Yep.
Until you can actually see the emblem because they look the same.
I would even argue even like certain cars in the 90s. Because like I remember growing up as a kid, like being able to tell cars by their taillights.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, think of, what do you call those? A crossover.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. No,
They all fucking look the same.
Well, all of them. And even worse, within the same brand, right? Like my wife has a new Kia, and her Kia Seltos is the small SUV. From behind, the Seltos, the Sorento, and the Sportage are almost identical. They're just different sizes.
They used to have cool names for cars, too.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Well, I was just complaining about that the
amount of times I've seen you try and adjust that seat is now getting comical.
It's not so much
because that's like the 18th time you've tried to adjust it.
It's not necessarily. I'm not expecting the seat to adjust.
Do you
I'm
want this
adjusting
when it
myself.
stays up?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
It's adjusting myself on the seat. It's the ADD. No, I was
addictive desert design.
Yeah,
right.
Somebody at AMW, busy man.
$100. That's the way.
This is a fun one for your podcast.
Breaking news.
Breaking
news that broke. What's today?
Breaking news.
Tuesday. 7 days ago. Future past.
Tuesday.
So Tim
25th.
Kuniskis.
Yeah.
Right. He's I forget what his new title is. He's like the head of Dodge.
Right.
Mopar.
Yeah, they brought back a bunch of the original CEOs or presidents or whatever they call
them.
them.
So Kuniskis has always been a horsepower guy, right? Huge Hemi guy, right?
Yeah.
Loved him. So he is like, I don't know, you could kind of call him a hero to some people.
Yeah.
Right? Not only just for the horsepower thing, he's, as far as I know, one of the only people that's ever sued his employer multiple times and won multiple times, and every time come out with a fat pay raise. Right? So not only did he sue him and win, but then he got a pay raise. And I think it's 3 times that he sued Chrysler, Dodge, Mopar, whoever, and won, and got a fat pay raise. And then he was let go last year.
Right.
Done. You're done. No longer need. And now he's the head.
He's back. Yeah.
Now he's the boss.
Yeah. Oh, it's because sales tanked.
Right. But he's an amazing dude.
Yeah.
Right. And huge horsepower guy. Like, as soon as they announced that he was coming back, I was like, the Hemi's not dead. And now they officially announced that the Hemi is not dead. They're starting a reproduction of them.
Yep.
Here in Michigan, so it's made in Michigan.
Did they announce? Have they officially said what they're going to put them back in?
No, I don't think so. But they announced that they're. My guess is everything that had a Hemi is going to get a Hemi again.
Yeah. Well, so this is an interesting conversation.
So, like, as soon as JL was announced, so I worked on JK a lot, and I worked with Chrysler on JK a lot. And, at AEV, we were the first major company doing Hemi swaps. And Chrysler even tested our Hemis.
Yep. Because
it was such a seamless integration into the JK, and just like factory would do it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? So we built some for Jeep, and they ran them through crash tests and did all this stuff. And it was funny because I remember the conversations, and this is like 2011, 2012. They came back and they're like, it won't pass federal crash test because the core support was 1.25 inches too close to the engine. Okay. When JL came out, like the very first JL that came off the line, you went and you took a measurement, the core support was 1.25 inches further from the firewall. So I knew right then, I'm like, oh, they're going to put a Hemi in it.
Yeah.
And it took several years before they did the 392, which I was always bummed they didn't do the 5.7.
Yeah.
Right? Because the 5.7 uses regular gas. It's a regular thing.
Yep.
I mean, even in the truck, right, it is just a workhorse.
Yep.
All the police cars have Hemis that just don't die, right? And it's all the 5.7.
Yep.
So I was bummed that they didn't do a 5.7 in the JL, but I'm still hoping, I don't know if they will, but I'm crossing my fingers that they come out with a JL with a 5.7 and then the 6.4.
Time will tell.
Well, so this is the big question though. How much did this just screw everybody who bought final edition 392 JLs?
It's not final editions anymore.
Final edition.
Yeah.
For $150,000 or whatever ridiculous.
They weren't that much.
There was one just sold at
That's just because people are stupid.
Well, I'm not. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just
right when the 392
the dealer
very first
markups
came
and
out.
everything else, people paid ridiculous money for that shit.
Yeah, because they're stupid.
Yeah.
But when the 392 very first came out, they were like 103, as much as you could possibly spend.
Right.
But then you get the dealer discounts and some other discounts. Blah, blah, blah.
It was all dealer markups when they came out.
I know, but again, people are stupid. Because I know people that bought them at a dealership for like 86 grand. Right. Which is still way too much money for a Jeep.
Yeah.
Right. Period.
Shit,
in my personal opinion,
60 is too much for a Jeep, in my opinion. But
like when they started charging 50 for a Rubicon, I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And a couple years later, they're 65. But it's final edition of that particular. I'm sure they'll make some changes, and then it's not really final edition.
Yeah.
And maybe, cross my fingers, they'll come out with a 5.7.
So that was kind of my thought, was if they offered it, right? Because the 3.6 is dead.
Yeah.
So if they did the 2-liter turbo and a 5.7 as your two motor options,
there's base models.
Yeah, but the 2-liter
the
2-liter turbo. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the
Hurricane,
the straight 6, right?
Do they?
That makes stupid power.
But they haven't said if it will or won't end up in the Wrangler.
No, they've never said 100% whether it will or won't.
I've heard people say it wouldn't fit, which I don't really.
Well, I don't know how it doesn't fit because it's not any longer than a Hemi.
Right. That's kind of my
Last year I helped
because the Hemis that's a fat motor
for roadkill nights. There was a roadkill shootout where a bunch of teams put that engine in a lot of random things, and I got to assist one guy. It was funny. They took a Demon motor out of a Demon and put in the
Hurricane
twin turbo straight 6.
Yeah. And it's not that big of a motor.
No, it's really not that big. But I got to see one of the motors that Chrysler did at one point where they were tuning them up.
Yep.
And they were going to offer, I think they were going to call it a Hurry Crate.
Okay.
Which was a crate motor option, and it was more horsepower than a Elephant.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right out of a straight 6.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about turbos, it's really not that hard. As long as it's strong enough.
Anytime you're forcing air down its throat hole.
Yeah.
Right. It's better. Yeah. Right. You got to go all the way down the throat hole.
Right.
But it's they have a lot of really it's not any good unless your eyes are watering.
Take it, you're gonna like it. It was a family show.
Yeah, but it's they have options and Mopar in general since the beginning.
Yeah.
At least since the 70s. They always try and push the envelope with horsepower, one way or another. And there's some really good people within the company. You had Frank Lutz, and you had, the Phil Tonys, and all of those guys, Mike Smiths, and all of these amazing people who pushed horsepower for so long within Mopar. Yeah. And I know other companies do too. Ford does it, and GM does it, but Mopar's always been that more power. It's always felt different.
Yeah.
And Kaniskis is one of those dudes, right? Yeah. And he's just an amazing guy and really loves it and pushes it. So I hope that they push the envelope. Yeah. I really hope they push the envelope.
Yeah, I'll be very curious. I think
I would love to see, because I know we have other people in Michigan, Mike Copeland was with GM forever, and now he owns Arrington Performance and Diversified, but he's doing hydrogen swaps.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right. He can take any modern motor. He's done it with LS, and he's done it with Coyote, and he's done it with Hemi. He can make any of them run on hydrogen.
Yeah.
Right. So your emissions.
30 years ago was propane, right? Like it's not a new idea.
The difference is hydrogen is the most prevalent thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right. It's in the air we breathe. It's in all our water.
Yep.
And when you run on hydrogen, like I got to watch one of his things and watch the engine run. It's this beautiful 50 Chevy or 50s Ford pickup truck that he's got this hydrogen motor in.
A hydrogen LS in a Ford?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, it might be a Coyote.
No.
So either way.
It's either an LS or a Coyote. Either way.
It'd be cooler if it was an LS in a Ford truck running on hydrogen.
The cool part is this engine, regular engine, Magnuson supercharger, makes like 500 horsepower.
Yep.
Right? His fuel cell actually comes off a bus because in California and other places they run hydrogen buses.
Yep.
So it's like 40 gallons, right? But he did a run test on it, and they did it for emissions and everything else. So the only thing that comes out of the tailpipe, as long as all your seals are good, right, and you're not burning oil, as long as all your seals are good, the only thing that comes out of the tailpipe is water.
Yeah.
Right? But 500 horsepower, if you had 40 gallons of gasoline and a 500 horsepower motor, at wide open throttle, that thing would run for like
an hour.
An hour? How long do you think it ran on a 40 gallon tank of hydrogen?
3 days.
It was like 8.5 hours
right.
at wide open throttle.
Wow.
Right? You could literally, like if you're driving it gentle, you could drive from here to LA and almost back on one tank.
Damn.
Hell of a lot better than stopping to charge every 200 miles.
But the cool part is if we keep pushing that, like when we were in DC, that's one of the things I talked about. Because we're pushing back against the EV mandate. And, we had the Biden-Harris EV mandate, which Trump kind of quashed. And then there's the California EV mandate, which they're pushing. But the problem is if they mandate that, right? If one of those mandates actually goes through,
that engine's done.
Well, not only that engine, but all.
Anybody else who's got something
right, and all the businesses will cancel.
Yep.
But the thing that gets me the most is America has been one of the biggest innovators for the last 100 years.
Yep.
Right? We innovate, we push, and we push the envelope, and we learn, and we grow. We know that we have an issue, right? And we want things to be greener. So even the ICE engines are getting more efficient every year.
Yeah.
They're making way more horsepower, but they're way more efficient, right? So, but if you slap a mandate like that, right, and say, okay, as of 2035, you can't buy an ICE engine, guys like that who are developing these systems to run ICE engines on a better fuel that's cheaper and easier and more prevalent and, not fossil, even though fossil fuel really doesn't come from fossils anyway.
Right.
That's a fucking lie. But you take guys like Copeland who are developing these systems and you just say, no, fuck you. You can't innovate anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that kills
everything.
The passion and the innovation that we get in America.
Losing all that momentum.
If he keeps pushing and, some of these other companies, because I know Subaru's doing it and Honda was doing it and all these other companies are playing with hydrogen. Look at Amazon, right? Bezos. Everybody on one side of the aisle loves a Bezos, right? Guess what? In all his warehouses, all his high-lows run on hydrogen.
Yep.
They don't run on electricity.
Yeah, and all the EV fleet stuff he bought, they can't use because they can't charge them.
Right.
Because no municipality will build a 1 million square foot warehouse just for you to charge 1,000 vans every night.
Right. So
stupid.
Yeah. Which almost put Rivian out of business.
Right. So if in the grand scope of things, and this is just my personal opinions, but if in the grand scope of things we're worried about the environment, and we're worried about being greener, and we're worried about that stuff, which
are all
we should
valid
be,
worries. Right? Yeah. It's also not new,
right? But don't force one thing down somebody's throat.
Yeah.
Because
it's not
the other
somebody's, it's everybody's throat. You're forcing one thing down everybody's throat.
Like if you look back a few years ago when they released the oil reserves that are in the U.S.
Yep.
Right, the untapped ones, like under Colorado.
Yeah.
There's enough oil under Colorado to support the entire Earth for the next 400 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not a fossil fuel.
And that's not gas and oil.
It regenerates.
That's not gas and oil. That's every bit of oil that makes the plastic in this microphone, the plastic I'm sitting on, the plastic here.
Petroleum products don't make plastic.
No, never.
They don't make our cell phones.
No, they only go in your car and out the tailpipe. That's all they ever do.
But lithium is good.
Oh, lithium is great. But even if you buy... If you buy you can't buy a Tesla right now. People hate him. But
no, you can buy it. It's just going to get burned down or keyed.
But if an EV is your thing, right, and you buy an EV, it doesn't matter. The lithium in it is horrible. And then every other part of the car that's plastic is made from oil.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and the machines that are used to mine that lithium to go in your EV car run on oil.
No, they'll all be EV too. It's a mandate.
But it'll take twice as long to build your EV because it took 3 times as long to mine the.
No, because you just plug it into a solar field that doesn't work.
Well, no, the mandate's only for passenger cars, so all that heavy equipment will still run on diesel.
Oh yeah.
The best meme.
So that's a good one. So just north of us, they did all these solar fields, right? It's a big thing in the last few years.
Yep.
So they're paying the farmers way more than the property's worth to put in these solar fields, right? No,
not good.
So this is where
you're going to start eating solar panels for lunch.
Yeah. So they don't go to Flint where half of the city is empty parking lots and do it there. No, they paying all the farmers to not farm the land and put in solar fields. However, this is where it gets really funny. So we have a dump, right? There's the normal trash dump.
Yeah.
We have one that's local.
Yeah.
So they can't take anything from the solar field. If a solar panel breaks, you cannot.
Oh, like you can't go there and dump it there.
No, because it's toxic waste.
Of course.
The chemicals that are in the solar panels, if a solar panel breaks and it gets into the earth, you can't plant for 25 years.
Yeah.
So you have not only ruined a crop area, but if the farmer decides he doesn't want to lease you the land anymore and they take the solar panels out, you still can't use that land for 25 years because it's toxic waste.
Well, that's why they have to pay them more than the land's worth.
But
because they know that.
Yeah, but so the deals were like 3-year deals. Mm-hmm. And then they get to renegotiate. And some of the local farmers who signed up 3 years ago are now freaking out because they're not offering them nearly the money now.
Yeah.
And like a friend of mine that works at DTE, he said that the next funny part is like a windmill or the solar farms can never produce enough energy to pay themselves off.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're too expensive.
Right.
And then they're always broken. We were talking about that driving up too.
Yep.
Because I noticed we saw a bunch of windmills in Ohio.
But
I think it was Ohio.
DTE does it, so that's one of the big energy companies around here. They do it because of the billions of dollars of tax write-offs they get by putting that crap up.
Yep. And they leave them off because maintaining them is not worth it, which is why they're all not spinning. So again, different podcast.
Off air.
Rabbit hole. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, you didn't make it work?
A little stir. More air. More air, PJ. Actually, you might actually legitimately need more. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Did he fail?
I don't know. I can't see. Is it glowing in there?
It was.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like...
So hold on. Let's back off of that subject completely.
Okay.
I'm going to take over his podcast for a second.
That's what you're here for. Nobody wants to watch us anymore.
This is Dirt Nerds.
Yep.
So you like dirt.
Yep.
And you're a Jeep guy.
Yep.
Are you into other forms of powered recreation in dirt?
If it has wheels or an engine, yes.
Okay, wheels and an engine.
Yep.
What got you into off-roading?
It would be my buddy's 96 XJ that we went out and ran fire roads. I grew up in central New Jersey. There were fire access roads through old cranberry bogs.
Isn't New Jersey like the size of Detroit?
No. I mean,
it's not very big.
It's not a big state by any means, but it's bigger than the city of Detroit.
I drove through New Jersey, and one thing that like blew me away. So we were filming a TV show for Motor Trend, and we did a couple things, and I was driving through Jersey. I flew in, I drove in, and I borrowed a Jeep that I had built from a guy that lives in Jersey.
Okay.
And I drove it down to do this TV show. And as I was driving down one of the main highways, which kind of goes down the coast, the amount of deer you have is disgusting in such a highly populated area.
So here's the thing, and I say this lovingly. I love I was born in New York, so it's not even really officially my home state, but I grew up my entire life in New Jersey.
Other than when he was in Denver.
That was after college. But the New Jersey gets a bad rap. There's a reason they call it the Garden State.
It gets a bad rap because you had people like Snooki.
Who isn't from New Jersey?
Yeah,
Fun fact.
But nobody knows that. It was Jersey Shore.
Yeah, but it's on TV. It's true.
It was Jersey Shore, and you had Snooki and the situation.
Okay, so you want to know the worst fun fact of that whole thing?
I never watched one of those shows. Not once.
Neither did I. Oh, I watched the first 3 minutes of it. And when they did all the intros, the situation is from my hometown. His mom was my buddy's 6th grade teacher. That is not like we used to, because that came out when I was in college, and I would go home for the summers, and he would be at our local mall signing autographs with people. The dude's like 5'7", by the way. Like he's like I was like, I'm gonna go fight him. Like 19-year-old me was like, I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. Never happened, but beside the point. Yes, New Jersey has a fuck ton of deer because it is, I don't care. People give New York the credit for being the California of the East. New Jersey is very much the California of the East. New York takes all that rap
in a good
from
way?
them. Oh, no, in the worst way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny too because like customers of mine have built a couple Jeeps that live in Jersey, and they get so wound up when you're like, "So you're from New York?"
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is all the bad things about New Jersey.
Because you don't sound like you're from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Say quarter.
Quarter.
Yeah, you say it right.
Right. Because New Jersey, I dealt with this in
You
Colorado.
don't do quarter.
That's a New York accent.
Yeah, same
That
thing.
is not a New
Take the
There
dog
is
for a
no
walk.
New Jersey accent. There is a
Northern
New York
New
accent.
Jersey sounds just like.
But
Yeah.
that's New York. Like, so both my parents who were born and raised in Long Island, like my mom's accent will come out every once in a while. My wife picks it out. I don't even notice it, but my wife will pick it out and, we'll laugh about it. And it's like, I went to Colorado and it's like, you don't sound like you're from New Jersey. And I'm like, it's because there isn't a New Jersey accent. It's a New York accent. It's New York people living in New Jersey that give us all a bad rap, right?
So your first one was an XJ, then what?
Oh, well, so the fire roads were behind Six Flags Great Adventure. So we would literally be.
No. You're digressing.
I'm not. I'm
You're
finishing the
digressing. You're
story.
giving me
He
more
asked a
information than I'm
question.
asking for.
He asked a question.
First one was an XJ.
Yeah, then
Second,
I got an XJ. I got rid of that for a Subaru. I got into cars at that point.
What kind of Subaru?
It was a Legacy GT.
Okay, then what?
That got T-bone delivering pizza. So my project BMW became
He's
my daily
digressing
driver.
because I said off-road. So we started at XJ.
There was a bunch of
Subaru
BMWs.
can kind of be off-roady.
Right. So there's a-
BMW is bring money and
there's
wrenches,
a bunch
and it means
of E30
nothing.
BMWs, and then I moved when I got the job with the car museum in Colorado. It was in west of Grand Junction, so it was on the Utah border. Like, if you're super familiar with Moab and Colorado, John Brown Canyon.
Super familiar.
So Gateway, Colorado is.
I'm actually a certified trail guide in Moab.
Oh, well,
Good to know.
Yeah.
it's not that hard. The
Where
internet
were you
exists.
last year?
I
In
did
Moab.
just fine, thank you.
So like so the last
Now you're
couple of years
digressing.
I've been fortunate. I actually I tour guide the board from SEMA.
Tour guide Greg?
Yeah. I'm the asshole in the kilt, barefoot. Seriously.
I know
What? Yeah, that's the Henderson tartan.
the tartan. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's I love Moab. I think this time, so I go in 2 weeks.
Yeah, don't mind us.
It'll
Can I
be like
come?
my 57th time to Moab.
So that was where it really turned
You
for
can come,
me.
I don't care.
You're on your own. That's not a shop
Yeah,
trip.
yeah.
Do you have a Jeep?
Yeah,
Bring it.
I did last year.
We didn't.
You were in Moab last year?
We didn't do Easter Jeep Safari. We went. We went at the end of May.
Okay.
But yeah, so Colorado was my off-road turning point because I was like middle of nowhere. I had a Nissan Frontier.
So
I had a dirt
why
bike.
would you leave
Leave what, Colorado?
Grand
very good
Junction
question.
area and go back to Jersey?
I didn't go back to Jersey. I went to Virginia. So
Again, why would you leave?
Why would you leave and go back? If I had the opportunity to live there, I would pack up tomorrow. The problem is, like,
I mean, I would go back tomorrow.
we almost bought a place in 2010
Yeah.
in Moab. So there was a house, beautiful little house, 3 acres of land, literally less than 300 yards from Hell's Revenge, right?
wow.
Which is a pretty famous
Yeah.
trail. That house was $73,000 in 2010.
Yeah, it's probably 500 now. 6. I was at the Airbnb. I looked at the Airbnb we stayed in. It was like that neighborhood was selling for like $750.
Yeah.
But they were like nice duplex townhouses. That was
Yeah,
a
but it
really
was
nice
3
house.
acres,
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
right? A little house. It was only like a 1,600 square foot house and a 3-car garage.
Just outside the park, like outside that like
as
state
you're-
park,
as
whatever
you're
it is.
driving up the road to go to it, it's on the right.
Okay.
Before,
Yeah,
slightly before.
they're building all kinds of crazy
what
houses
used
on
to
that
be,
road.
Lions Back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was $70,000 in 2010. 2 years ago was the last time I saw it for sale, and it was $790,000.
Crazy.
So Moab is considered the new Aspen. You
Right.
just can't fucking afford
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
But yeah, if I could move out there,
Yeah.
I would in a heartbeat.
So I hadn't done off-roading stuff since I was in high school. So this is fast forward 4 or 5 years. Bought a dirt. First thing I did when I moved out was bought a dirt bike because my mom always told me I could have a dirt bike. Realized riding.
You look like a Honda 50 guy.
It was a Yamaha YZ185 two-stroke, which I knew how to ride, but I was.
Do you have a Brap tattoo?
I don't. I do. My tattoo is actually of the Palisade Rock Formation in Gateway, but the Big Red Rock Plateau thing. But yeah, spending time in Moab, driving around John Brown Canyon, realizing I don't know how to really ride dirt bikes, so I sold the dirt bike and just drove around in my truck, and then bought a XL 150, 250, 350, something like that. Another Honda. Still had BMWs when I lived out there. Did a lot of autocross stuff. Moved to Virginia.
He still gets so far away from the off-road stuff that we're trying to talk about.
No, it says I'm a car.
Intertwined.
I'm a car guy first. Is the problem, right?
Well, I mean, even me, unofficial use only,
Yeah.
right? I didn't choose an off-roady name.
Right.
Right. I chose a name that worked with anything because, and you haven't seen it because it's not daylight, right? Well, if you look up there at the top of the door, there's a rendering of the Continental.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So that's a 66 Lincoln that I'm building
Okay.
to compete in Battle of the Builders.
Yep.
Right. I don't just do, if it's got an engine and wheels, I want to change it. I want to make it different. So
I modified my lawnmower.
Right. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
I dare to be different. I mean, the fucking Ruckus that I rode to SEMA is sitting in the back room.
Yeah.
Want to do that this year? SEMA's just getting ready to publish an article about it, and we're going to try and get more people to cross the country on scooters this year.
I'm in. I'm done. We are 100% going to SEMA.
I know, but you want to go at 35 miles an hour?
Yes. Yes.
Dude, I'll tell you what. So I have driven.
I might be the only one going with you, but I'm down.
No, like I did an interview with SEMA, but I have crossed the country more times than I can count at this point, right? So because I never fly, I always drive. So 50-some trips to Moab, SEMA every year, blah, blah, blah. I'm always driving across the country. And I'm always in a truck, towing a trailer, doing 85, right? Cruise control on, and I don't stop. I just, all night, all day, I get there.
PJ has a story about me not stopping.
So I can go from here to Moab. The fastest we ever did it was 21 hours, right? Okay. It's normally about 26.
Yeah.
But for here to SEMA, it's about 30.
Yeah.
And, but it's just straight through. Doing it on a scooter last year, even though it was cold and shitty and the wrong time of fucking year to do it, and we only had 2 weeks to plan and execute the whole trip.
Yeah, but now you have more time to plan and execute.
It was the coolest, most exciting way to cross the country. Because, one, you're not on the highway.
It's like the Arc Droid. You don't have to
go
sell
on the
me.
highway.
I already said yes.
Right? But zipping across, as you're going, like when the sun starts to go down, you're on back roads and highways. You're not on expressways. You can see what people are watching.
Yeah.
Through their window. Yeah. You can see everybody's project car in their garage.
Yep.
You can see all these amazing, like I saw so much more of the country than I've ever seen because one, you're not going fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. But it was really exciting. And the biggest thing was that we did accept donations. And we donated 100% of the proceeds to SEMA Cares, which they donate 100% of their proceeds to children, right? Whether it's a children's hospital or a scholarship or a college fund or, 100% of every penny that they bring in, they donate. Yeah. So that's the kind of 501c3 that I dig because you don't have some CEO like
taking
Blue
a salary,
Cross who pays himself $7 million and they give away $200 to somebody who needs it. No. 100% of every penny they bring in, they give away. So if we do it again this year, SEMA's getting ready to drop the article, and we are going to ask if more people want to do it and want to do it. But
I already know you're going to do it, Freddie.
And instead of crossing the country in 4 days,
do it in like 6.
We'll bump it up to like 6 or 7 days. Done. Because 16 hours like this.
Yeah. How tall are you?
How tall am I? 6 feet.
Yeah.
6'2".
Yeah. Yep.
So we did did SEMA 22.
And I thought it'd be fun to, we didn't really modify the Ruckuses that much. Like I put a windshield on it and I put, did a couple little minor things. Oh yeah, we did fat padded seats and stuff. But I was thinking, there's other Hondas.
Groms?
No, not the Grom. There's another scooter.
The new Trail 90 or whatever.
No, it's like a CSX or they've got 125s.
Yeah, but it didn't like. No, it's like based on the old trail.
No, it looks like a.
I gotta look it up now because there was one.
It looks like a Honda Spree.
Oh,
it's just bigger.
Okay,
it's got a big motor. So I was thinking, maybe I buy one of those because I find them on a marketplace for $800. Take the engine out, and then my scooter. And they do like 90. The downfall is if I did it to mine and everybody else just had a stock one.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as fun.
Well, it would be fun because I could get way behind you, and then I come flying past you and smack you in the back of the head.
Can we do? Does it have to be a Honda? Is Honda sponsoring this?
Well, if Honda sponsors it, if we
take notes, Honda.
I gotta see if I have that guy's business card.
If we get Honda to sponsor it and donate,
are you talking about the Metropolitan?
No, but it uses the same motor. There's another version. It's like a CSX.
Well, the Ruckus is so cheap. It is only 49 cc's.
But they're indestructible.
Yeah. Now I gotta look because the let's see. Oh, do they not make the Groms anymore?
I don't know.
Oh wait, no, Minimoto. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. So So they have these. They brought back the trail motorcycles. Those are 125s. Right. Those are, I think, relatively new for the year.
Yeah.
Because they had those at Overland Expo, and I was like...
But the whole thing started with the Dumb and Dumber comment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about this in D.C.
Yeah. So, but if I can get, 10 or 15 or 20 people all across the country...
You got at least two.
On scooters, that would be badass.
I don't... I'm not saying... Oh, the Super Cub. Is that what you're talking about? The C125 Super Cub?
No.
Okay. Anyway, Tim will say yes.
I gotta look it up.
Whether he actually will. I tried.
Tim's doing it too?
So we did. He's going to say yes. Whether or not he's actually going to do it is another question.
We did have a support truck that came with us.
Okay.
And it was
Tim can drive the support truck.
It was a Chevy 1-ton.
Cheese truck?
Cheese truck?
Yeah. 8 foot, so Chevy 1-ton, white, 8-foot bed, 4-door.
You could fit
truck.
You could fit all the scooters in the back of that thing.
Well, we never put them in it.
Yeah. You could if you wanted
to. No, we did because he rode behind us to block traffic.
Poor bastard.
Yep. So he followed us.
Cruise control at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And on his tailgate, we did. My wife came up with the idea, like literally the morning before he left. So I called Jay from Steer Smarts and I was like, "Hey, can you make me the sticker? The wide load stickers?"
Yeah.
So we literally duplicated a wide load sticker, but instead we said weird load.
Weird load.
So we had to cross the country with this giant weird load.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I was excited for SEMA prior to this conversation.
Kind of like the sticker I made on our way here. I did the same thing. I took the caution wide load and I just did caution wide for thick boys off road.
Yeah. We have our alter ego is thick boys off road. I don't even know what we were talking about to lead us to this, but I'm down to start shopping for. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Fuck yeah!
Look at that, $4,000.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing about the stuff on Marketplace around here. It's fucking cheap.
And it's got a chromed out 455.
Fuck it.
I mean, chrome don't get you home, but it sure looks good when sitting on the side of the road.
Our first road trip SEMA idea was buying a Facebook Marketplace shit box and driving to SEMA.
There was a AMC Eagle for sale for like $2,200, somewhat local to us, and I was like, let's go buy this AMC Eagle.
And then we found a Mitsubishi.
We're not going to do shit to it. We're going to pile tools and parts in it, and we're going to drive to Vegas. And then
was it a Mitsubishi?
Well, and then the Eagle didn't sell. So somebody talked me out of doing the AMC Eagle.
Then we found another one.
But that was like, why don't we get something more reliable so we actually make it? And then it was, all right, what's cheap? What's cheap and reliable? Oh, we can do a Montero or we were just looking at like cheap off-road SUVs, and then we just settled on renting a car,
which was way more fun in the long run.
Because we actually made it to SEMA, and we were able to do 90 miles an hour for most of the way.
Rest in peace, Cheryl, wherever you are in this world.
PCX.
The PCX.
Honda PCX. So
no, I gotta look it up.
The motor and trans and everything are basically the same that's in a Ruckus, just instead of 50 cc's, they're 125 or 160.
Yeah. I know nothing about motorcycles and...
It's not a motorcycle, it's a scooter.
It's scooters or anything.
Yeah, that's like...
But you can take the powertrain out of that and bolt it right to a Ruckus.
So we're hot swapping some Ruckuses, is what you're saying.
This is
so I'm like that's like a Bentley of scooters. I feel like.
Oh yeah, just like 80.
Like that thing's got fucking arrow and everything. Wow. What was your
buddy?
Oh, it's got
Freddie would be all over
ABS,
this.
underseat storage.
I have a feeling you and Freddie would be very good friends.
Yeah. Also, are you related to David Freiberger at all? Because I feel like you could be brothers.
So fun
I can't be the
fact.
first person to tell you that.
Fun fact. Like the Gone Jeepin' crew.
Yeah.
Right. Most all of them personal friends with Freiberger.
Sure.
I've never met him.
Neither have I.
He was-
and I feel like I have a responsibility to get you two in the same room.
So it's a phone call, right?
That's
Like,
my point.
I can call him.
Honestly, you probably have way more ability to do that than I do.
So a couple years ago, he was at Roadkill Nights
Yep.
in Michigan, and he had the Jaguar,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. One of my favorite roadkill
When
builds.
he was driving, when he was leaving, he left Pontiac,
Yep.
which is an hour south of here. He drove within 3 miles of here.
Yep.
Because he was going up north because he was going to take the Badger, which is a ferry across Lake Michigan to Wisconsin.
Yep.
He broke down like 4 miles from here.
Yeah.
And he was at a gas station in Durand. And I see the post online, and I'm like, oh. So I called a couple people,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, because I didn't have his number. I'm like, call him, tell him I have a fully functioning shop like right up the street. I can be there in 5 minutes with truck and trailer.
Yeah.
And, help him out. So phone calls were made back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he calls me, and he's like, hey, Payway just called, said you've got a shop. I'm like, yeah, I'm literally 5 minutes away. I said, I can hook the truck and trailer and be right there. He's like, well, give me a couple minutes. We're going to try one more thing. And if I need you, I'll call. I said, okay. Didn't call. He fixed his shit and got back on the road.
Yeah. And I was like, damn. That's when you just go show up at the gas station.
Yeah.
I'm not a dick.
Well, yeah, but
When you post something like that on the internet, I guarantee that
there's
50
100
people showed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe here it's 50, but yeah. By us to be 1,000.
Well, so I used to have, when I first started getting bigger into this, right? Like I'd been in the off-road industry for a while, and I'd been in the Jeep industry, and I built, I think, 12 cars for SEMA and stuff before I officially started Unofficial Use Only. When I first started it, I put a sign out,
Yeah.
right? Like a road sign. I put it out there. Well, I ended up, all the magazines. I think I've been in 140 magazines now, but a couple magazines posted, Lennon, Michigan, and Unofficial Use Only, and then I did a couple little cameos on a couple Motor Trend shows. Oh my God. People just show up.
Yeah.
Fences.
Lots of people.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'd have 15 people in a day.
Yeah. Get nothing done.
Oh, I saw you on TV. I just wanted to see. I found out you were here. I drove for like 40 miles. And like I have no problem talking to people. I have no problem talking.
Yeah.
Right? But I couldn't get shit done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then we were filming 2019. We went around, we filmed 21 episodes of this show that was supposed to be on Motor Trend. And it was a Jeep show. Near the end, Courtney Hansen stepped on as one of the co-hosts. So it was Terry Madden, Courtney Hansen, me,
Cool.
and
Okay.
another dude. And we're filming these shows. And so, like, I was finally there. I'm going to be on TV every fucking week, right? Like, I'm excited about it. Because I know what can happen, right?
Yeah.
I know other people who've gone through it. And, it's like a breakthrough moment, and you can make some monies.
Yep.
I mean, even on marketing, right? Look
Yeah.
at Gas Monkey Garage and the
Yep.
money they make on hats and shirts.
He's been
right?
on podcasts a couple times where he says all the time, I didn't want to be a shop owner. It's all marketing.
Right.
I like cars. I built a brand and I put it on TV.
Right.
I don't give a shit about running a shop.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I was there. We filmed 21 episodes, right, all over the country. Jeep shows all over the country. And I was the expert,
Right.
right? So all these other people, they were just there, but they didn't know, like Courtney's an expert in cars.
Yeah.
She really is. Like, she's not just a pretty face.
I was just saying, you can't spend this much time in the industry and not learn
But she
something.
loves cars, too.
Sure. Yeah.
Terry's a big, he's big into racing. He was, engaged to Jesse, and
Yep.
he's a good dude. And he started right near the end too. But the couple other guys that did all the episodes with me, like, they're not car people.
Yeah.
Right. So I was the expert, and I was definitely the Jeep expert. So I had the most airtime.
Yeah.
And did the whole thing, and then COVID hit. right? So we filmed, it was almost the season finale. The season finale was going to be the last episode, but we filmed at King of the Hammers, and then the next one we were going to do the season finale at EJS. COVID hit, EJS was canceled. They decided not to film. Then COVID shut down the fucking world for a while, right? Whether you believe it or not, it shut down the fucking world for a while. And the guys who were privately funding this show, they both made all of their money in rental properties, like hotels and Airbnbs in Florida, and they lost their ass. Right? So when the world started to open back up, they're hurting financially, and they're like, yep, we're not going to pay for all the editing, and we're not going to pay for the final show. Because we were going to have to wait months until the next big show, which was going to be SEMA. And we were going to try and do the finale there, and they're like, we're not going to fund it. So there's thousands of hours of footage just sitting there, and...
You think it's ever going to come back?
No.
Somebody owns it. Somebody somewhere owns it.
They own it.
Whether at this point, it's...
So, but it was just kind of a big bummer, right?
I wonder if they would put that on Power TV.
Well, the pilot was on Motor Trend. So the pilot's out there.
I mean, it's such an interesting space right now, like for us, where we're kind of dabbling in some of that, and it's like, well, while basically everything from a mainstream media and cars is kind of crumbling.
Well, it's just like Tony, D'Antonio, he's got his new show, and I'm like, fuck.
But it like, so we had, I don't know, we had an up and coming streaming service reach out to us and want to license content, and it wasn't necessarily a financially beneficial offer,
right?
Which I get,
well, that was one of the best parts of my little show thing,
right?
So they paid for all of my incidentals when we were doing it, right? So I'd expense my flight and my hotel and whatnot, and then I got a certain paycheck for every thing, which was very small, which was fine, but 21 episodes, I think it was less than 20 grand total, but I'm still working full time,
supplemental,
so who cares? But in the contract I signed, one, I own the logo, right? So it's my trademark. So I got to wear my trademark, and every episode they said Greg Henderson, custom vehicle builder, unofficial use only, right? So it was all there.
Right, because it's a marketing thing.
Right. And because I own the rights to it, and I forced them to put it on the screen, right? I would have gotten.
You'd be getting paid to advertise or something.
Right.
Well, and that was our back and forth, because guy I worked with at the car museum, when he left the museum, he started kind of a similar story, but he was on the production side of it. They were filming a whole season, and it was a restoration of an old. I wish I could remember it, but like an oddity Italian sports car that was found in a carport in Denver, like the whole thing. And the shop hired him and the production company, and they filmed the pilot. They edited the pilot. They had the production crew contracted. COVID hit. Production had to stop. The shop kept restoring the car. So by the time they were able to go back and film, the car was half done. And they lost everything, and the show basically just fell apart.
Well, I've had another opportunity. Ian. Everybody knows Ian. Ian wanted me to do a show. And so Ian's show, because he does, he was on Extreme, and then now he's the Motor Trend. I forget what it is.
It was four-wheeler, whatever it is now. I forget. They renamed it again. But
so when they set that up, Ian hit a home run. He did really good. So they called and they asked if he wanted to run that show. And he had just started Big Tire Garage. Which is his own media outlet, right? So he was filming. There was a show in out of Pennsylvania, Kenny Hawk. Which was Hawk Design. So the first season, Discovery filmed. And did all the told him what to say and everything, even though it was unscripted.
Sure.
So the next season, they filmed it themselves.
Yep.
They sent the footage to Ian. Ian edited it, put it out on the world, right? So Ian offered to do the same thing for me, and it's Digital Lug is the actual brand.
Okay.
But so he wanted me to do a show. The problem was I had to get 5 sponsors.
Yep.
Right? So whether it be like tires or whoever, and each sponsor had to pay a certain dollar amount.
Okay.
Right? And donate the parts.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to do a build, you get 5 sponsors. They all pay. Well, he got to keep, what would it be, 80%.
Sure.
And I got 20%. Right?
Yeah.
So it's very hard to build an entire one-of-a-kind car for $20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, even with free parts.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, then just get, 7 sponsors then, or 8 or 10,
Yeah. I don't know what episode this will be, but we're over 150 episodes, and I think...
This is the long one. People are sleeping by now.
That's fine.
You're nowhere near the longest.
It's okay.
I mean, we could keep going, but...
I can talk forever.
I probably should have clarified this with Tim, but we may or may not be powered by Jeepcables this episode.
Powered by what?
Jeepcables?
What is a Jeep cable?
Is
that stupid shit that goes from your fender to your fucking windshield?
No, this is actually a really cool... So they do upgraded battery cable kits for pretty much the whole Jeep line.
I think I've seen their stuff. I think I almost
They're
ordered some of their
They're
stuff.
still building in their
They're small.
inventory.
It's like a 3-person
I
company.
thought I saw it online somewhere
Super
because I almost
high-quality
ordered
stuff.
some of it because I
Very
do
good
all
stuff.
these
I
big...
can give you an email.
They're sponsored by LJ.
Yeah,
LJ.
His LJ.
I have an LJ.
Oh,
They gave me a kit for...
you don't have the first LJ.
No, I
No.
don't.
I can go get it.
And we can put a Jeepcables kit on it. This is going to be the weird part where Tim cuts this part out, puts it in the beginning of the episode. No, I mean, I don't remember exactly what the deal is. That's part of our hiccups. Our producer isn't super thorough in production meetings.
Yeah, my hardest thing in the world because my vehicles get attention.
Yeah.
Right. Most of them.
Right.
I have no problem calling somebody and like knowing what the vehicle's going to be in the end.
Yeah.
I have no problem calling and saying, hey, can I get, let's say factory 55. Justin, this is what I'm building. This is where it's going. It's going to go here and here and here. You'll get your ROI. I want a
hook and a rope.
Hook and a rope, right? Or whatever. Because I know they'll get their ROI, right? I understand the game. I don't know how guys like Kenny and Ian and everybody else, I still can't fathom, even though my stuff gets attention, right?
Yeah.
I built a Jeep and it was in Forbes, right?
For people who don't do this every day, what is an ROI?
Return on investment. So like if you're giving let's say a $200 shekel, right? You need to know that it's going to get enough marketing to pay for that shekel, right? So it's return on investment. Right. So I know that they're going to get that. Even if I call like Pitbull for tires, right? Which Pitbull doesn't exist anymore, but I know they're going to get the return on investment. I know, but I don't know how like. Pitbull sponsored Kenny's thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I know what they paid. So they give him the tires and they give him a check for $25,000. I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how, like personally, I don't know how to ask for the check.
Well,
I know how to ask for the part.
Yeah.
That's where I am.
And I know you're going to get the ROI on your part, but I don't know how to, like even
I wish I could
other
answer the
podcasts
question
I've been
for you.
on.
Yeah.
I know, but other podcasts I've been on, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
You've been doing a podcast for 15 years. You reach, 170,000 people a week.
Yep.
But he doesn't ask Northridge or Quadratec or whoever for $500 a week.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever it is. Guys like Ian are amazing at that.
Yeah.
Guys, Kenny was, aside from the fact that they did some really cool builds.
Yeah.
He knew how to play that game. Like, I remember being at SEMA, and I know he's out of the industry now, but we were at SEMA, and he had a build, and I had a build right next to each other. Literally, we were right across the aisle from each other. And I typically had a bigger audience checking out my shit than he did, but he had a fucking TV show, and I'm like, and then then I learned how much he charged, right? You know, so all of those sponsors,
Yep.
you know, the sponsors had paid about $250,000. The owner of the car had paid about $250,000, right? And I'm like, how the fuck?
Yeah.
I built this for $60,000.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
I'm not good at asking for the monetary. Even my customers, right?
Yeah.
I have 3 times the hours into that I build them for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's become.
But I think it's because I get too passionate about it. Right?
Sure.
I just won't leave it alone.
Yeah. That's You're bad about that.
Yep.
Hey PJ, do this oil change. I also did the brakes, the ball joints.
Well, I
painted
found
the frame.
this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and they're
PJ, they're waiting.
Yeah.
We've solved most of that problem, but I think the uphill battle we have is the first question we get with those
Can I fit
conversations.
35 on a stock lift?
That too.
Yes. All day.
As long as you have a sawzall
Without
blade,
cutting.
it'll rub. I mean, it'll fit.
Yes.
Yeah. You won't be able to do much with it.
If you've got a JL
Yeah.
and it's a Rubicon already,
Factory.
you just buy you just buy a set of aftermarket flares and you're done. 35s all day.
The two things we've learned are, what are you asking for? Usually dictates a response, and followers, right? Like, it's started to transition a little bit into like views and impressions versus followers.
Yeah.
Because like we have, I don't know, 150, 200 something subscribers on YouTube, but for whatever reason,
That's it?
this is the part that's crazy to me, and I really should learn how this works. But that being said, we get 50 to 75,000 impressions. So
See, I've never even looked at my impressions because
Right.
I've got like on YouTube, and I barely ever post on YouTube,
Right.
but I've got 2,500 subscribers.
Yep.
You know, but I post like once every 6 months.
the YouTube thing's relatively new for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Like our weekend or the trip to DC, that blew us up. I mean, the shop page I think ended up with like 150 followers in a week from SEMA sharing posts.
Right.
But we saw 6-figure impressions on YouTube, on the shorts, on everything else, and that's just basically every time our brand came across something.
Right.
So like it became.
I don't even know how to look up impressions.
It's on your dashboard on
Sure.
YouTube. The asking Jeepcables for stuff was easy because I was able to go, we have 90,000 impressions this month. And they went, cool. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the kit, right? I wasn't looking for $10,000 to go do a trip, but it's, I think there's a point where, and I'm kind of with you because I feel like in your position, you shouldn't have to justify that ROI for a company, right? Like you're kind of you're a known entity. We're an unknown entity.
But I do because I feel like personally, I know that they need to get that. Mm-hmm. Now a lot of the guys that I work with all the time, they already know, right? Like when I call, I have companies call and say, "Will you use my?" And I'm like, "No, I won't."
I mean, but I'm not saying you should.
Is it analytics?
Yeah.
We're learning.
It should be the big first number on your thing.
Views. No, I got views. So I clicked analytics. There's views. Watch time. Subscribers.
Well, honestly, that may be your views may be the same. Because that's not. I don't know if I'm logged into the right one on here. Holy shit! It's 1 a.m. We gotta stop doing this, PJ.
We. Or you.
ADD. 80. Oh yeah, I can do it. Here we go. Oh wow, we're up to 333.
There you go.
How about that, everybody? Thanks for like and subscribe. Thank you.
I think I've gotten 50 since the 24 hours trip.
Yeah, 24 hours got us a bunch. I've never actually done this on my phone.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Nope.
Stop ducking my Jeeps. I got another nasty fan comment.
You're still getting
recently?
comments on it?
Oh, this
That's
video
excellent.
is years old. 2021 is when I posted it.
You're in it. Oh my god, that's fantastic. See, so since published, you've had 13,500. Oh, people have watched that for 104 hours. That's really good for a 31-second clip.
That's funny.
Here's this
how
one's
to
better.
do this.
How do I
there we
find
go.
it on this one? Oh, I gotta click on that.
Yeah, so it's views. So
73,000
Yep.
watch time, 2.8 thousand hours.
Yep. Well, so that's that specific video.
Right.
So your whole page is kind of on your home page here. So like right now we're at 160.
Well, yeah, but where is it? I just clicked analytics.
Trend or I don't know. Yours is. Oh, you're in the studio app.
Oh, what am I supposed to be in? Just
I don't
YouTube?
know. I'm just on the page.
Oh, you just went to YouTube?
Yeah. Wow. Holy shit. That video's got. PJ, were you? Oh no, you weren't. PJ, this was before you. Our best performing short is old
Okay.
Brian.
Hey, I went there.
Fuck. How did I get there? That one. There you go. Yeah. So you're at 316,000 views. You're doing pretty good. You have had 551 page views in the last 7 days.
Where's impressions, though?
The views is impressions.
Oh.
So that's every time somebody has seen something that your page, whether it's a click or like your video popped up as recommended, your short popped up in somebody's scroll.
So is that for all time, or is that in the last 7 days?
Usually in the last, like if you, I can do this better on a computer. I've never done this from my phone. That is all time.
Oh, okay. So it's not enough. So like, I've got a couple friends that do it, and I've never really asked everything. Like, what's his name? Alex Steele. So he's got a YouTube channel. He's been running for years. I was talking to him a couple years ago. So he's a blacksmith, and he started in the UK. Then he moved to Montana, and now he's back to the UK. There's a mosquito. So he's got like 3.5 million followers.
Yep.
Right. So he busted his ass for like 3 years, and he made like 5 videos a week for 3 years, and then a couple of them went super viral, and then he started getting mad followers. At 3.5 million subscribers, how much money do you think he makes?
Too much. Enough to make me want to do more YouTube videos. I believe that.
A week. Beep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Rory Irish. He's Tomater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it was last year. Might have been last year. We were interviewing him for Gone Jeepin', and he was at like 180,000 subscribers, and he was at the point where he was making enough between merchandising and YouTube, where he had completely closed his shop. He was no longer a functioning shop. He's just YouTubing, and he was at.
God damn.
Yep.
You know, so there's definitely money to be made.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to be consistent. And you got to keep going. And that's what everybody tells me is, put stuff out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't know how to edit.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but
crucial
I'm
part.
so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
That-
someone to do that for you.
Right.
Yeah. We've had the same.
And I've talked to people, like there was a YouTube guy at SEMA, and it was funny because I'm walking through, and he approached me, and he's this big guy, green hair, and he had a camera dude following him, and he asked me, he's like, "Where's your camera guy?"
Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you're in a fucking skirt and you're barefoot." My feet hurt, so I took my shoes off, and like I walk all week long at SEMA with no shoes, but.
I don't know if that would make my feet hurt.
He's like,
more
"Where's your
or
camera guy?"
less.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I've been following you for like an hour." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You can't walk 100 feet without somebody coming up and talking to you." I was like, "Yeah, I know all these people." And he's like, "You should be filming all this, everything."
Yeah.
He's like, "You need a camera dude." And I was like, And so then we're talking, and he's like, "Well, my car's out in front of South Hall," and he had a brand new Lambo that was painted like a dollar bill. Right? All dollar bills.
How
all over.
original.
It was all money. But so talking to him, and he's a YouTuber, and that's all
Yeah.
he does. Or an influencer, I guess.
Content creator. That's the preferred term.
His camera dude, so I asked him, he's like, "Well, I give him 15%.
Okay.
Right? That's what I pay him, 15%. Everything generated, he gets 15%. He does all the videoing and all the editing. And I'm like, okay. So I turned to him and I was like, is it worth it for you? And he's like, I just bought my second Lambo for cash.
At 15%.
So the first thing I did when I got home,
we need to hire like a college intern who's trying to like.
Yeah. As soon as I got home, I get my son.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll give you 15%.
My son's 17 at the time. I'm like, I will give you 25%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because
for life.
17-year-old kid, right? I'm like, you're better at all of this than I ever will be. But he has zero interest. Zero.
I don't blame him.
I mean, he's out here, he's welding and grinding. He's turning out to be an amazing welder. He's going
awesome.
He's just about ready to graduate college, and he wants to go be a pipeline welder.
Okay.
And I'm like, I want you to stay here.
Yeah.
But and I keep paying him more money, but he still wants to go. Because I want to give it.
25% ain't going to compete with the pipeline, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I give him the whole thing when
when
I'm done.
Yeah.
Because he's a car dude.
Sure.
But he's got.
He's going to get a lot of. He's going to get a lot of cars welding on the pipeline.
I brought him to SEMA right after he turned 18. I brought him to SEMA. I introduced him to all of these amazing people. Trying to push him into it, and I don't know. He's got to do his own thing, and I understand that.
Yep.
As much as I want him to stay, but yeah, I'm like 25%, right? You just edit it, and even him, right? He's 6'6", 6-pack, right? He's a fucking Adonis. I mean, he really is, and I'm like, dude, if we film you working on these cars and explaining. You will blow up like you wouldn't even believe.
That's we make that joke all the time.
And he seemed he was like kind of getting interested in it, and then he got a girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
And then he was no interest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Now he just needs the paycheck, go on dates, take the girl
you
out.
gotta edit that video out.
Yeah.
Brian.
We've always joked that we need to like hire a attractive secretary for the shop and just start doing YouTube of just our day at the shop. Then we all agree that an attractive secretary at the shop is probably a bad idea because none of us will get any work done, and then we'll all be in trouble.
Yeah, it's the get in trouble part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So mostly Trevor and Brian.
Yeah.
Distractions.
Yeah. Brian gets distracted easily. But yeah, we've joked for the last couple of years with the growth of the podcast and everything else, where it's just like, if we just had somebody follow us around with a camera, like, because the podcast started literally just drunk around a campfire. People were like, you're entertaining. You guys should do a podcast.
Yep.
And we just...
Well, even 2 years ago, I had a dude.
Yeah.
There's a dude, he films shit for a living. That's his whole thing, right? He does drones and films and edits and whatnot. And he wanted to go to SEMA real bad. And I was like, sweet.
You want to be my camera guy?
You be my camera guy.
Yeah.
You come to SEMA. I'll get you a ticket. I'll get you the whole 9 yards, blah, blah, blah. I even bought him some DJI lavalier mics and all this stuff. Well, I owned them, so I let him use mine. And he did. He came. He filmed all week, and I let him just go walk around and shit when I wasn't doing anything cool. But whenever I went to go do something cool, I'd call him and I'd be like, hey, come here. And he'd film the whole thing. End of the week, he goes home, never gave me a fucking second of footage.
What?
Never put together one video, nothing. And I interviewed all of them. I went to every friend I have. I went to Ian Johnson. I went to Courtney Hanson. I went to fucking Jay Leno. I went to everybody. He had 30 or 40 hours of footage of that shit. No. He just disappeared.
The fuck?
He had a lot of fun, but he didn't want to sit and edit. And I told him the same thing. I'm like, look, if you edit these and we put them on, and any of them take off, I'll give you 25%.
Yeah.
Right? And just never gave me a second of footage. Damn. Not 1 second. And stole my fucking DJIs. You stole my shit.
Now, that would be ironic if he happens to listen to our podcast. I mean, there's a chance. Small, but there's a chance.
But either way, I was like, all right, let's do it. And I didn't, he paid for his own flight.
Yeah.
Right? Because he wanted to go to SEMA.
Yeah.
So I didn't pay for his flight and I didn't pay for his hotel. But
still,
I paid for his ticket. I got him in the show. I fucking
introduced
him. I would say that's hard. That's not as easy as
I
you think it is.
introduced him to everybody. Right? And I even talked up his fucking business to everybody. I was like, oh, he does this. He'll chase your fucking race cars and your drift cars with his fucking drone. He's the guy that'll fly his drone under your drift car. Right? So I talked up his business to everybody, but then I did the interviews on camera.
Yeah.
Right? And never gave me a fucking second of footage.
Yeah.
There's people out there like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, if I can find that kid that's willing to do it.
Yeah.
Right? The downfall is nobody wants to do it and hope to make money in a few months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I'm at the point I would pay somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't pay him a shitload because I don't make a lot of money, but I would pay somebody to grab the content and the footage.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's our...
I even thought about just hanging like fucking 15 camoras.
Yeah, you
and
can
just
do that.
filming everything.
Shit, the fucking security cameras these days are good enough.
I've thought about doing GoPro mounted installs of stuff.
I got DJIs and GoPros coming out my ass, but I don't know how to edit anything. I even thought about just going live like every day. I'm like, here, watch me
be pretty popular.
Watch me fabricate for 3 hours.
Yeah, we
got the following. That's really what it comes down to.
We tried that with a gear job a few weeks ago. It doesn't really work when you're working.
95% of it is not exciting.
Yes.
Oh, and it's too loud for the microphone.
Or you're focusing.
I'm sitting there air hammering fucking bearings with a mic on it. Yeah. Tim's in the background. Could you turn your mic off? What? I'm trying to get this gear job done in one day. Leave me alone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, when you're spinning a grinder, it's too loud for that shit.
Yeah, and it's in the shop.
We were there doing a work day.
You
on top of doing
you and
gear
Brian
job.
are working on customer shit. I'm trying to re-gear Jed's Jeep.
That was
do
a
both axles
shit
by
show.
myself in 8 hours, and then you're sitting over here with your laptop on the trans jack.
That's on YouTube if you want to go watch that shit show.
It is still there.
Well, and like we do, so like that hood.
Yeah.
Right. Like even filming that. So
Is that 392 hood? Or
no,
Rubicon?
that was 2017. There was only 4 Hellcat hoods in the country for sale. That was one of the 4. And I needed the vents out of it for a job I was building.
Okay.
So that hood cost me $4,000.
Oh yeah, I guess that is definitely not a Jeep hood.
So I bought the hood.
Maybe it is time for bed.
I bought.
iPhone storage full.
Yeah. So I bought the hood. I cut the things out, and then I was having a fucking bad day. So I literally just carried it right out the door here because it was on the sawhorses here. Carried it out the door, and I put 400 rounds through it. And it was cool because it's aluminum. So when you'd shoot it, you'd get the glowing ring, which was kind of cool. Yeah. But that would have been like a cool 5-minute video.
Yeah. Did it make you feel better?
Yes.
I threw a printer over our railing.
That's why I hung it from the ceiling.
Yeah. I threw my printer over the railing a few weeks ago, and I felt great. Yeah. I was furious that day.
But I do it all the time. So you can't walk more than 15 feet in here without finding a gun if you really look.
That's good.
And
I love America.
When I get stressed out, I'll go shoot. Yeah. I used to, where the whiteboards are, you can kind of see the silhouette behind the whiteboard on the right. Yeah. So I used to have big hunks of wood.
Okay.
Like tree stumps.
Yeah.
Because I throw knives.
Okay.
So I throw knives. But then one day I was really pissed off, and I don't remember why. I think I was a little further back than normal, but I threw one, and there was a car sitting over here, and it fucking went ting, bang, and hit a hood. And I went, I better stop throwing knives in the shop.
Yeah, details. Details. Throw printers. Throw printers. Yeah. I
don't have a printer right now. I bought a printer.
That's a good thing. Keep it that way.
I bought a new printer. So, God, who the fuck is it? Insta Ink. HP.
Oh, yeah.
So I had an HP.
Yeah.
I paid for the Insta Ink. It was
pure fucking garbage.
It was $4.17.
Okay.
And I would never, ever run out of ink. $4.17 a month. Well, then they upped it.
Yep.
And then they started doing by the page. Mm-hmm. Right? So one day I print off a whole shitload of instructions, and instead of $4.17, I get a bill at the end of the month, and it's $73. I didn't need any more ink, but they're charging me by the page. So I canceled that shit.
Yep.
I bought a HP, or not an HP, I bought an Epson something on Amazon. Got it, it wouldn't do double side. And I'm like, fuck. So then I set it up to return it. I ordered a new one that does all the fancy stuff for like $30 more. They still haven't shipped it. So I had to turn in the old printer within 2 weeks. I waited till the 22nd, which was the last day to drop it off at UPS. I dropped it off. They still haven't shipped the other one yet. So I'm without printer right now. Because I refuse to plug the HP back in.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I threw the HP was what got thrown over the railing from our loft at the shop, and I the next day I went and bought a brother, and it's been flawless since I plugged it in. But
what are you doing over there?
Making space. Making space because we saw.
Sure, it's actually uploaded before.
Why didn't you just save it to Google Photos instead of saving it to the phone?
Because I had to put it on the phone first.
Higher quality.
Record a video on Google Photos.
I can.
Can you?
Yeah, I pay more. I pay like $16 a month, and then I can do whatever the fuck I want.
We can also wrap it up.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Tim's not gonna edit it, which is the problem. If they get too long.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If anything that you heard in this podcast, you liked it even remotely, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like.
Yeah.
Make sure to follow Dirt Nerds on every single platform you can, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or fucking the zoo.
All of our
I don't
pages.
care.
Yep.
Check
All
it
of the
out.
things.
All the things. You guys know us. Where can they find you?
Me?
Yeah. Nobody cares about us anymore.
Yeah, they do. It's important.
But they already do. That's the thing is, we have very good retention with our fan base. It's growing our fan base.
Yeah, but they got to tell you what they liked and what they didn't like. They got to leave a comment, and then you guys have to immediately respond. It's the most important thing.
Thank you. You know what, Tim? You better fucking listen to the whole thing because I've been telling you that for fucking years.
I just learned that. Well, when we were in DC.
Engagement is 90% of it.
So, but for me, it's unofficial use only.
Yep.
We've got a YouTube, we've got a Face Crap, we've got an Insta Crap. I don't do the tweets and the other stuff.
We don't either.
We should, but we don't.
My biggest problem is even though we've been talking for a couple hours here, my biggest problem is I work like a dog. My shop is 212 feet from my door. I usually work from 9 a.m. until about 2 a.m. every day, 7 days a week. So I don't have a lot of time to social media, but I do control and run all of my own social media. So if you do have a question,
build
you can
really cool shit. So even
I
if
build
it
kind
is
of cool stuff. You can Google me.
Cool shit.
It's unofficial use only. Yeah. Greg Henderson. You can see what I do, but I just
David Freiberger's
I like playing with cars.
Twin.
No,
I'm telling you.
No, I will tell you.
That'd be YouTube gold.
One of these days, I will see Freiberger. I will meet him in person. You know, we've got a lot of mutual friends.
Greg Freiberger.
The other one that I really want to see.
Want to be there.
I want to meet Stacy David.
We have a connection for that. If you really,
I really do. Like one of my heroes, and
Yeah.
I've been in the same room with him a couple times. I've just never introduced. But
we'll trade you.
Yep.
But like Ian Johnson, Ian's a close friend. I can call him right now.
Yep. We had him on a PRI.
Ian was, like Ian, Jesse, Stacy David. Those were the people that I watched their shows, and even though I was doing other things in my life at the time, I watched their shows and I learned. And Stacy is one of the guys.
Yep.
Like, I learned so much from watching him because it wasn't just his shows weren't just about check out this part, blah blah blah, sold to you by blah blah blah. It was anybody and everybody can do this. And I was I've had artistic talent, but I never thought I could do some of the things. But watching his show really inspired me to start doing it on my own instead of paying guys like Jared.
Yep.
So one of these days, at SEMA and everywhere else, I'm always like, I'm going to run into him and I'm finally going to talk to him, and I haven't yet, but one of these days I will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's locally to us. I don't know if you're familiar with Truck Night in America from the History Channel.
I was on Truck Night in America.
So Abe Wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abe Wine's a good buddy of ours.
Okay. Yeah.
He lives like an hour away.
So I went, and I was a little jaded, so I did do Truck Night in America.
Okay.
I went down. I brought Frankenbrute.
Yep.
It was 2017. I was prepping.
I told you to ask him that when you guys were at PRI in DC.
Yeah, so I was prepping it for SEMA.
Okay.
Like I tore it down to nothing. I repainted it. We put a new motor in it. We did all this stuff. And then prepping it for Truck Night. And Truck Night, they promised me, so they're the ones that reached out to me. I didn't find them.
Yep.
And they promised me they were going to share my son's story. That was the whole reason I was going to do it, because Frankenbrute was built for my son and what happened to him. So they were going to share his entire story. So I was like, yep, I'm in. I got like 30 other people to do the show. Like I reached out to the industry. I got a whole bunch of people to do it. The day before I was going down, because we had just put the Jeep together, I blew the motor. So I actually called some people in the Lunatic Fringe. I stole a motor from somebody else, put it in my Jeep. Like, we didn't sleep for 27 hours, and then I drove to Georgia.
Yep.
Right? When I got there, I still hadn't even driven it other than on the trailer. So I was trying to do some test and tune because they told me I could. And then the production people were like, no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. So I did as much as I was allowed to do. And then they shipped us to a hotel, so I couldn't even work on my Jeep, which pissed me off.
Yeah.
And in the morning, we were running it. They were doing some of the hero shots and blah, blah, blah. And the sound guy got in and ripped half of my wiring harness out.
What?
When he was pulling zip ties, he just decided to zip tie to wiring.
What the fuck?
Oh, to like mount the camera, like mount mics and cameras and stuff?
So they've got me doing these hot laps on the road. I'm chasing this van, and they keep telling me over the the radio, they're like, floor it, rip around us, because I could get the thing to drift at 50 miles an hour. Right? So they have me keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I'm fine with it, right? I can drive. And I look down once, and my fucking temperature gauge is just spiking.
Fan
and I'm like, what the shit? Right? And it starts blowing coolant. So I pull over, and I'm searching everything. Well, the ground for my fan, he had ripped off of the firewall.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, oh. And so they're filming all the carnage. And I'm like, I don't care. You can film the carnage, right? Shit happens. Until I found out what happened. As soon as I found out what happened, they were done with me because they're responsible.
Right.
So then we get back to the place, and they're putting cameras underneath because it sounds like a hot rod motor, right? It doesn't sound like a normal Jeep. They're putting shit underneath. The motherfucker rips my shit apart again. He actually ripped a brake line. So
I gotta ask Abe. We gotta ask Abe this. We're gonna.
Abe probably doesn't know, but because we
barely, he wasn't a part of that.
We barely saw.
No,
we barely saw him. So then, what they did is they were mounting a GoPro and a mic underneath, and they used vice grips, and they just vice gripped it to the fucking brake line.
What the fuck?
Right. And so nobody. So I'm fixing these things that they're doing, and they're giving us like 20 minutes to work on our car.
I wonder I wonder if there's a little bit of fuck with it on purpose and get some good TV out of it.
Well, and mine was the nicest one there, right? It's the SEMA show car.
Yeah.
It sounds fucking mean. Everybody was scared of me.
Yeah.
Right. My competitors. So the first thing they want us to do is this mud run. Right.
Yeah.
It's this big long mud run.
Yep.
So, and it's got a little dip and a fucking water hole in it. So we're sitting there at the starting line, and it's fucking hot as balls. We're sitting there in the starting line, all rigged up. You got to wear your helmet. You got to do all your shit. And they keep coming over the mic. Like Abe and the other guys keep coming over the mic, and they're like, rev it up, right? Because mine sounded gnarly. So I keep revving it up. Every time they tell me, I'm fucking mad at. No big deal. Sitting there waiting for like an hour and a half. We're sitting there waiting to do this run. And I bet you every 5 minutes, one of them is telling me to rev it. Well, then when we finally went, right, and mind you, my motor's been in for less than 24 hours at this point. We finally go, everybody hits off the line. Well, they kept telling me to rev it. I had it in neutral, right? And then they finally give us the go. Everybody takes off. I fucking, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, fuck. So I jam it in gear. Everybody, the water hole was like, I don't know, 300 feet into it. I passed everybody before the water hole. So they're all 2 car lengths ahead of me before I started to move. I pass them all. I hit the water before anybody. Well, I hit the water so fucking hard, my coil wire popped off. Got water, right, and it killed my engine. So I'm sitting there, cranking it. Finally, it refires, and I punch it, hoping to make it to the end, but everybody else was still moving. I ended up being the last one to the line. I had like 600-foot rooster tails off the rear tires, which is pretty cool.
I want to go back and watch the episode now.
But so I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. First round, I'm out.
Yeah.
And everybody else, like all my competitors, were really happy that I was out.
Yeah.
And then everything else, like the next thing they did was the tug of war.
Yeah.
And so when we're all done, we're all at the parking lot, and I finally got my shit running right, and we're all in the parking lot at the hotel, and the guy who won the tug of war against everybody else, he's like, oh yeah, I drag your shit. I was like, all right, let's hook him up. So we're in the parking lot. I drug the motherfucker around the building.
Wait, who won that one?
I don't even remember.
We don't have to go find the episode.
It was one of the first few episodes. But you can see Frankenberg clear as day.
So season one?
But then, yeah, season one. But
so
then the best
it wasn't
part,
who you're thinking it is.
when it finally airs, right? Because they had promised me.
I'm pretty sure that was season 2.
They promised me they were going to share my son's story. That's the whole reason I did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when it finally airs, we're all sitting down, we're waiting, because I'm all excited that they're going to share my son's story. They didn't say one fucking word about my kid. And then when we're sitting there and, they keep telling me to rev it up, well, they didn't do any. They edited all that out. They just heard it. Whom, 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 whom.
You just used as a soundbite.
And then I think it was Abe. It was one of the guys. Was like, "Oh, that guy really thinks he's tough shit. Listen to how he's revving it up."
Yeah, it sounds like Abe's character.
Because you fucking told me to. Like I'm screaming at the TV. I'm like, because you fucking told me to, you fucking idiot. But yeah, so I was, and then another part of it is. They had promised to pay all travel.
Yeah.
Right? They had told me. They never fucking paid me.
Huh.
They owed me like $1,300 in travel. They never fucking reimbursed me.
Wild.
They just ghosted me.
Yeah, from everyone that we've ever talked to about that show, there was a lot of
It could have been a really cool show. And I mean, honestly, hey, my shit fucked up, right? It was my fault. It was nobody else's fault. If when I hit the water, I wouldn't have got water in the coil, I would have blown everybody away.
Yeah.
I think because I had the most horsepower, the best wheelbase, the best tires, and I was the most experienced.
I would say you're probably one of the better drivers too.
But
I remember as a kid watching that show, like I feel like none of these people can drive.
Yeah, but in the end, my shit didn't make it.
Yeah.
But really, the only reason I was jaded was I don't care that they didn't pay me what they told me they were going to pay me. I don't care that they edited it to making fun of me for revving my engine, even though they were the ones that told me. I was pissed that they didn't share Liam's story.
Yeah.
Like, pissed.
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason I did it. And that's why I got everybody else to do it.
I mean, I think the irony of the situation is looking back at it, too. Like, when we've talked to Abe about it, it's not the same story because obviously he's on the other side of it, but
he still has the same kind of resentment.
Yeah, it's very much I wish I had known more getting into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it would have been very different or I never would have taken the job in the first place.
Right.
If I had known. So, seems to be a common theme.
Yeah. No, and I understand it.
Yeah.
I was just pissed that they lied to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's showbiz, right?
Right.
Which is, oddly enough, why it's all very different than it used to be.
Yeah.
Networks aren't involved. YouTube's growing because...
I think if they came back out with it, if somebody did that again, I mean, the place is built.
Yeah.
I think it could be hugely successful. One, I would say don't script it so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't
force somebody like Abe to act like an idiot.
Yep.
Or film him like an idiot.
Yeah.
Right. Or Bender or whoever.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Make it authentic.
Yeah.
Right. Because off-roaders will push their shit to the limit.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
The fab, I think the little fab section.
Yep.
Right. And I know that was fucking edited a lot.
Sure.
A buddy of mine did it, and they cheated him, and that pissed him off. So, Bill Bladshell.
Okay.
He had he calls it my truck, but it's like it's a hodgepodge truck that he put together, and he did really good. His episode was amazing. But like during the fab part, he had a couple broken things, and they wouldn't even let him fix the broken things. They made him put a fucking winch on, and wouldn't let him wire it.
Yeah. What? Because sponsors.
Right.
Hey, I've had that conversation with Super
Winch.
before.
So Super Winch sponsored that. I'm the one that gave them the Super Winch sponsor.
Yeah.
I called
Which is how you
my
got
buddy.
the phone call to be on it, I'm sure.
No.
No?
I did that like a week before I was going to do it. One of them called me and I was like, hey, we're trying to get a couple sponsors. I was like, oh, here. And I gave him John Mason's number. I was like, call Super Winch. They'll give you whatever you need. And they sent pallets of winches down.
Damn.
But, I didn't get any recognition for that either, which I didn't care about. But
yeah. That's a whole other episode.
It was a good experience. It just wasn't. I think that show could be wildly successful.
Oh, yeah.
If they did it again and just changed a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, somebody could do a YouTube thing on that and it would fucking
Oh,
go bonkers.
I think they would have a harder time trying to do the same idea without
No, you do the same idea. You do the same competition. You do the same stuff. You do the same fucking.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who owns it, but you could probably just reboot the show as a YouTube.
Yeah.
No, you just change it. You just fucking change the name. You can use the same property. You could even get guys like Abe and shit to fucking do it, but let them do it. Don't tell them what to do, and don't fuck it up, right? But you could make a wildly successful show.
Let the off-roaders do the off-roading.
Yeah.
Give them the same challenges. Fuck with them like that. Give them shit to do.
Leave the showbiz out of it.
Right. Leave the showbiz out of it. Let the celebrities or the commentators like Abe and Bender, let them actually say what they want and how they want.
I think if they had like a singular host and then guest hosts or judges, whatever you wanted, I think that would be a lot better.
Yeah.
Like everyone in the industry.
Yeah, but a lot of
doing guest spots.
The problem is those guest spots, they want fucking monies.
Yeah.
Right. Like big monies.
Yeah.
Right. You get Ian to come down, he's going to want. You get, Courtney to come on, she's going to want. So some of them are going to want way too much fucking monies.
Yeah.
Right. Put 2 authentic or 3 authentic hosts. You don't need 4. Just do 2 or 3 authentic that are there every week that know their shit and talk.
Yep.
And do the same obstacles, the same bullshit. Like I smoked a drone with my fucking rooster tails, but they didn't show that because the fucking video dude was pissed. Because he was like 400 feet up and a fucking mud clod took out his fucking drone. And he was pissed. But then another episode they showed when a toilet hit a drone.
Yeah.
I thought the fucking 400-foot high rooster tail was cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another one. I did that whole mud run.
Yeah.
I never put it in 4-wheel drive. And I still was faster than everybody.
Yeah.
I listen, TV's not what it used to be.
But yeah, that could be it could be a really cool, and I think it could be a really successful show.
Later.
We don't need these. Did we turn this off?
No, this is technically still recording. The video is just off.
We do an outro.
We kind of did, and then we started again.
Yeah, I did the like, comment, share, subscribe. I did the whole thing. I fucking owned it.
Yeah, DirtNerdsOffroad.com. I'm looking at the non-existent camera. DirtNerdsOffroad.com. You guys know where to find us. Unofficial Use Only. Greg, thank you for having us. Dirt Nerds.
I know, but you didn't articulate your T.
Listen, it's been a long week. It's Wednesday morning. Again, they know where to find us. Thank you for having us. It's always a good conversation.
Yeah, it's fun.
We'll be back. We're definitely going to come back to Michigan.
Do it anytime.
Back.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Because
if not, we'll see you at SEMA.
I'm here all week.
No,
at SEMA, you literally.
No, I'm in for scooters. Count me in. I will find a scooter before November.
We can do a fucking 73-hour podcast crossing the country.
It's gonna be real windy.
Charging is going to be a nightmare.
Mike.
Listen, we don't have the budget for that. I barely have the budget for the scooter.
All the memory cards and SD cards and external hard drives.
Well, and the beauty of that. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.